close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the final action here at the Crucible. After 17 days of Sheffield, it all comes down to 2 more sessions for us to see, unless Yize is able to do the impossible and do something that has been done against him before this season, and is of course to win 8 frames on the bounce. As you can see, he's going to be sitting on 10 frames to be won. It's a race to 18, it's a session of 8 frames. You don't need to be a mathematician to do the calculations right. He is going to be looking to try and extend his lead if possible, but ultimately for him, if it is going to be a session of 4 frames each, that will still leave him in a very nice position, and that's what I've gone for. I feel like he's going to be able to try and keep that gap to be at 14-11. Whether that's going to be something on Shaun Murphy's mind, we'll have to wait and see. Happy bank holiday to everyone in England, and we are here hopefully, well, certainly looking forward to a great final to be played, because you feel like Shaun Murphy has had a really good chance in the sort of second part of the first session to try and take it away from Yize, but the starting point was a little bit of a problem for him. He's lost 3 frames of the bounce. He wasn't really able to recover until the end of that session to try and lead 4 frames to 3. 5-3 would have been better in the end. That brilliant break at the end of it was done by Yize, and even though it wasn't brilliant at the end because he had a couple of shots that he still needed to play to try and get over the finish line, that was certainly leaving us with 4 frames each. And I said at that stage that, experience of Shaun Murphy inevitably will be kicking in there. And I said that it's been a while, probably since the quarterfinals of Hossein Mafaya against Yize, that we've seen that fantastic flair. Maybe the first session against Mark Cullen where he managed to win that one 6 frames to 2. But even then we had a bit of a problem for him. But I did actually think that it was certainly the session of his life that he's played in relation to the magnitude of everything that was at stake, and also that just how well he managed to take every single chance he had an opportunity to try and win a frame. He was able to convert that well, and he managed to win the session by 6 frames to 3, which is boundary on being a bit of a, certainly a battering there for Murphy, because now, he's managed to come back from being 13-11 down, 9-7 down to John Higgins. Well, can he try and do it again? He certainly can, but whether he's going to be able to do it here, it is going to be a bit of a different story to tell, because now we are going to have very much a showdown of the third session. Whether it'll be the final one, as said, Murphy can't win the final in 3 sessions, so we are guaranteed to have at least a couple more frames if Murphy is to be the winner. But ultimately, of course, Yize still has got that thing in the back of his mind where if it's going to be an absolutely worst session of Shaun Murphy's life and it's going to be the best one for the man from China, he could still try and do something that Zhao Xingtong was very close against Mark Williams last season, but of course he didn't manage to convert that 17 to 7 points of a lead in relation to the frames, and Williams was able to win 5 on the bounce until, of course, Xingtong inevitably managed to be the first champion from Asia, the first world champion of snooker from China as well. Now, it'll be very much coming down to introduction for the players. Hopefully there's not going to be too much of a distraction there. We've seen that with the second shot there, Murphy was playing, and even though trying to watch it back, still didn't realise what he said to the referee, but certainly heard, it's only my second shot, make sure he will be down to 8-0, and it's a session to spare. No, that wishful thinking. Well, so I'm saying there, don't say it's impossible. Zhao Xingtong nearly done it. Yes, he started with the third session with a bit of a different scoreline, but at the same stage, when you have got that opportunity ahead of yourself, one of those things about snooker is that you are going to have very much a lineup ahead of you where you can try and treat it as an individual frame. You win 1, you win 2. He's managed to win 3 on the bounce beforehand, and can he try and make it the mission impossible? Listen, it's very much something that is going to be a fantasy world, but nobody said he can't do it. But at the same time, if he manages to win 4 of those frames out of the 8 that are going to be played here in the afternoon session, I say he's going to be really happy with it. And, inevitably, that will put him in a very strong position ahead of the 4th session. From Murphy's point of view, though, he needs to make sure he wins this session 5-3 as a minimum, because, of course, that will get him down to just 1 frame of an advantage for Yize. But at the same time now, once again, as he has always been welcome throughout this week, he's always been the runner-up in relation to, the experience and the players that he's been up against. In the first round, he was against Li Pei Fan, that managed to defeat the current Wilson champion of 12 months ago. Then he was very much up against Mark Selby, the 4-time world champion here at the Crucible. Then he was up against a very much man that was really difficult to beat, as the world #1 managed to find out, Hossein Mafai, that he managed to say, he felt like he was playing a computer game. Then it was down to Mark Cullen, which was one shot away from making it down to the final for the first time in his life. And now, after a bit of a wobbly start to, the first session out there, he now manages to put himself in a position just 8 frames away from the biggest win of his career. Then it will be down to Shaun Murphy, of course, managed to do it, being exactly the same age, 3 months older than Yize. Back in 2005, he was up against very much a finalist specialist of the Crucible, Matthew Stevens, but despite Stevens being there beforehand, he still wasn't able to produce a performance which is good enough against the 2005 World Snooker Champion. Shaun Murphy is about to make his way towards the one-table setup again, and now he's certainly going to look to try and get into that deficit of 3 frames, looking to enjoy himself again, and now just having a look to see what he's going to be very much going through his head. And it will come down to a great opportunity for either Shaun Murphy and Yize to get themselves a lot closer towards the finish line, because this is the session which separates the men from the boys. Because this one will certainly give you a chance of either just about to be hanging on in relation to what's going to happen in the 4th session, and you feel like, well, mathematically I've got a chance, but realistically nobody's done it before, and no big, huge, massive comebacks that we have seen in the 4th session. We've seen some, especially for Mark Selby in the second day, when it comes down to, 4 titles that he's managed to win. And of course, one of them was a potential. It wasn't really a comeback, he was managed to be in great control of that match against Shaun Murphy back in 2021, but still, it was very much down to Shaun Murphy's latest visit to I'm pretty sure it was his latest visit to one-table setup. It certainly was his latest visit to the final as well. But now, after the applause from the crowd will have finished, it will be very much coming down to Shaun Murphy to try and get himself through to a couple of very important frames here, as you can see there. So, Selby was technically losing 6 frames to 7 and then managed to win 4 frames at a bounce, turned that match around, and even though he needed to lose a couple of frames for him to get over the finish line, still, I feel like that was a very good performance for him. So then, Shaun Murphy's had a break off. And usually, so far in his final, he hasn't really got the, the recognition and the prize that he was looking for throughout the previous stages of the tournament. But for now, it's nothing that he leaves as an attacking shot there for Yize. So very carefully, just trying to get that cue ball to a position now for the ball cushion. And now we're down to a decent opportunity to be taking the red away into the left corner. Once again, we've seen only 1 century so far in the previous 17 frames. That was made in the frame number 7. And, that was very much the peak of domination there for Murphy, winning 4 frames in a bounce to try and get himself the only time, by the way, in this match that he was leading, of course, after that century break by 4 frames to 3. Didn't last very long. And Yize was finding himself to win 3 frames on a bounce again. The last frame of the first session, and then 2 of the starting as well of the session number 2. So he's managed to win 3 frames on a bounce twice during the duration of the match. Now can he try and make it very much 3rd time lucky? Because I'll tell you what, if he wins 3 frames in a bounce, pretty much no matter when that happens, he's still going to be very much a man to beat in this final. But for now, he plays a bit of a questionable safety shot, catches the brown full ball from the left side, and now he'll be down to Shaun Murphy to try and take this red away into the left corner. Very difficult to try and find the angle to get that cue ball to be lined up for the blue. So you feel like you'll be very much coming down to a shot on the black to be taken, because if you try and play this shot with very much rolling that red in to the left corner, yes, it doesn't give you full control of what you can do with that red, and even though it's going to be in the pocket, you can still miss it. But Murphy decided to try and play that for the blue, and to tell you what, somehow he's managed to overrun for that blue massively. But once again, it seemed like he was trying to eke out as much of the pocket as he could, but at the end stage, despite dropping the red in very comfortably, still probably going to be closer to the bulk line right now than he's going to be towards that blue ball spot. So yeah, just having a look to see if it's going to be worth to be taking the blue on, because once again, you're probably not going to have any more reds to be taken into the left corner apart from the one which you need to play quite far up the table out there. So it's a difficult shot that to perform. So it'll come down to Murphy's judgment call if he wants to try and do that on the blue. You know, try and bounce that cue ball massively off the black ball cushion and get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the left corner as well. For now, just carefully playing that brown into the green. Make sure you leave the brown to be available, because he doesn't want two of those bold colours not to be available. And now it'll be very much coming down to a decent shot here to be played from Sean Murphy as well. And of course, that previous long pot allows him to be the one and only setting up the pace to you know, the starting point of this frame. Now, just having a look at the scoreboard, you know, he's going to have so many of those reds available, but at the same time, all of them would require some great positioning there. And as I say, have a look at the scoreboard. 3 frames down, it's not really going to be some of those, you know, moments where you feel like I can do whatever I want. Of course, Yize mustn't get that in that mood either, as he plays a red careful roll up to the cue ball, making sure that he won't leave a touching ball away, as it looks like he hasn't done so. So just a little brush off the left side, and Murphy will be sending that cue ball to be heading right to the top of the table again, because ideally he wants to try and end up being behind the brown or green. But in behind the green, pretty much impossible shot for you to play. In behind the brown, it is possible, but I feel like the angle is not really going to be in his favour with how close, you know, the shot to the red is going to be in relation to the cue ball. So just carefully playing that one towards the right side, and now making sure you, well, to be fair, he has pushed one of those reds to be coming across the table and available into the right corner for all will be good result for Wu. At was 3-5. Yeah, as I say, I'd probably say 3-5 is going to be good enough for both of them. But if it is going to be 4-all for Yize, then he certainly leaves himself with a brilliant chance of trying to take that one away. Because, of course, if that is to be the case, you'll have to win 3 out of the remaining 10 frames for him to be the winner, which is not too bad at all. But for now, it's a red that he's going to miss, and it's a bad shot this time around. So he feels like that wait from Murphy previous time of asking, certainly he's going to get rewarded now. You know, a safety shot, which you felt like he should have taken that red on there with a potential chance to leave that cue ball to be heading for the bold colours at the end. He didn't take that red away close enough to the pocket, and the cue ball got lost in between those reds. So now Murphy's going to have to try and make sure he's not going to pay the price of his own break-off shot there, as it's always going to be pushing the black towards its own cushion. So now a chance to try and take the black away into the right corner. Played this one with a little bit of backspin. Always missed the black. As I said, he needed to make sure he didn't pay the price of his own break-off shot of putting the black onto the cushion. And now he will be back to Yize, because remember, just because you missed the black doesn't mean that you're not going to be on the red. And now Yize is certainly going to be very much approaching this one and trying to go for the red into the right corner. He's got a great chance of trying to get around the black or position that cue ball to be behind here, so that he's going to try and take it into the left middle. Nowhere near as difficult as it would have been for Murphy. And you can see there just a touch of the front jaw that he caught, but in the end it was a touch which is going to leave him with a great problem out there to be had. And now the black about to be taken into the left corner as well. A very careful shot into the left middle of the table. And now just still making sure he's got a chance to try and go for the reds, taken into the left corner. I mean, could be a very difficult miss there for Murphy to try and swallow, because it's exactly what we've seen in the first frame of the first session out there. And of course, that was very much the starting point for Yize to try and take a 3-0 lead out there. If it's going to be the same story, you know, the blue that he missed probably was easier than the black that he's taken. But at the same time, you probably wouldn't expect to be, you know, doing either one of those mistakes there from Murphy's point of view. But now, ultimately, it's nothing that Yize can control. And it will be very much down to a decent opportunity to be taking that blue away into the right middle. Make sure he's going to have plenty of backspin to be added on the white. Carefully roll that cue ball towards those reds. Oh, it's a bit of a... I mean, it depends on which reds he was playing for, because if he's going to be actually playing for the red that he's landed on, it's a brilliant shot there, and it'll allow him to try and transition back for the blue once again. But I feel like he was trying to, you know, send that cue ball to be positioned for the black in 2 shots time. So, of course, playing for one of the reds lower than the one that he's landed on. But at the same time, I feel like at this stage, if you've got yourself a red and you've got the angle to try and play for the colour, you certainly should take it. As I say, I mean, some really contrasting performances. He's had one decider in this tournament so far, but what a decider it was against Mark Allen, coming back from being 47 down in relation to all those points. Some brilliant shots that he's taken in that decider, and of course, you know, the matches against the same way, Mark Selby or Li Beifan don't really need an introduction, because as much as they don't really have anything in common, you know, Mark Selby was, the match of Mark Selby was played twice as long there in relation to Li Beifan. 12 frames in one of them and 24 in the other, but in relation to the performance, he certainly can't say that he will be down to, Shaun Murphy to try and improve on that, because Yize was really playing some great stuff out there. And now once again taking the black away into the left corner, still being on one more loose red right next to the black, which potentially would of course been a problem for the cue ball to be positioned on the left hand side of the black. But if he's got a chance to try and go for the red into the left corner, and he does pass the other red on the left side cushion, then could potentially buy him 2 more reds there, which is going to be equivalent of a potential up to 16 points that your opponent can't score, and of course that you are going to be able to score as well. Early miss by Murphy's in helping him. Well, now going to be down to a shot on the black to be taken. Plenty of backspin on the cue ball. He's going to try and take it into the bunch, and he needed to make sure he put in the black, and he has done. So now, how is he going to be looking for the red to be taken? I'll tell you what, he hasn't really got a chance to be taking the red away into the left corner because of having to bridge over the pink. So he needs that red into the left middle to go. It doesn't seem like he will go. So now, 34 points of a lead. He's going to have one last look just to make sure, the red won't go into the left middle. Well, he's not going to go. He can't play a safety shot out of this red. So he certainly feels like he's going to be trying to take this one on there. Well, very awkward to be breaching over 3 reds basically, and the pink, it just about goes, but even if it does go, and that was a really good shot there, nicely into the corner. As I said, he needed to be very much playing through that shot, which is impossible to do when you have to breach over those reds. And now he'll be down to a decent chance to be taking that blue away into the green pocket, and make sure he'll be coming down to a red to be taken into the into the left part of the table here. Once again, plenty of backspin to be played. If he's got a chance to try and get that cue ball to be heading across those reds, then he's got a decent opportunity to play that towards even the right-hand side of the table. As long as he's going to be positioning for that red with, that's a bad shot that he's played. The blue is going to be missed. And the same red that he was playing for himself now is going to be left overshot for Shaun Murphy here. So, the 37 points that he scored are going to be very important for him. But at the same time, having a couple more of those reds to be taken, you feel like the position was there and he just needed to get himself out of that trouble caused by not landing on the red perfectly after trying to split the pack. Now, as I say, the red that he was playing for into the left corner is not an easy one for you to take. But right now, he's got the opportunity to try and drop the cue ball to be played for the black here. So you probably wanted to expect this one to be missed out there, and just carefully lining up for the black now to be taken into the right corner. 34 points of a lead, and ultimately 75 at the table ahead of him. Only 1 or 2 of those reds are going to be probably in a bad state to a position, but at the same time, he'll be very much coming down to the cue ball to be played off the right side, and now making sure he'll be down to a minor problems on the cloth there to be done. So just having a look once again to see on what's going to happen into the left corner. Probably trying to play this shot with plenty of topspin. Or he's trying to go for the red, which was pretty much lined up for another one, not next to the pink. So now he left himself with a nice chance to try and take either pink or black. But you feel like, taking the pink won't really get him into a clean air of reds, because he'll have to try and clash with one of those, push that one towards the right corner. So he has to go for the black, even though, of course, that would mean trying to bridge over the red on the left side cushion. And now making sure he's landed top side of a red, so trying to play for the black for a couple of more shots, because as much as, it won't really be the most important thing about this frame here, trying to score some maximum number of points, but at the same time, he'll leave himself with a nice little opportunity to try and take the black away into the left corner. Once again, he's got a great chance of trying to play this shot through the cue ball, get himself lined up through the red to be taken into the right corner or the right middle, whatever he wants to try and do here. And in the end, he's gone for the other red to be taken. So he kind of left himself with 2 options here, but you feel like, neither one of those options are going to be great. So you're probably going to have to go for the red into the left middle, because probably the position of that red in relation to the pocket allows him to play that with a little bit of power, which he'll need to try and get that cue ball to be stunned for the pink, which he has done. And now just having a look for that pink to be taken. Of course, it's going to be off the spot with a minor effect there, but ultimately, we're now going to be approaching the stage of a frame which will very much decide on whether it's going to be a perfect start for Murphy, despite not doing that from the first chance and, missing that very bizarre black, I would say, off the right corner. But at the same time, Yize was only able to score 37 points out of it, which hasn't really put him in a great position for this frame. And now Shaun Murphy manages to eliminate the biggest problem that he had available to him. Doing that off the red is always a risky thing to do, but he knew that he was going to have a blue to be taken into the yellow pocket if things are going to get proper nasty for him. And I'll tell you what, they might have got nasty here, because if he's got a chance to be taking the blue here, I mean, as much as that one pretty much is in the pocket, it's never quite over until it's over in relation to the chances to be missing that shot like that. But also, of course, having to travel so far away down the table, we need to make sure the cue ball is going to be lined up nicely for those reds. And Murphy's done anything but that. Bizarre shot selection there from Shaun Murphy. And now he's going to find himself to be 2 points clear. But at the same time, he'll be down to a red to be taken now into the right corner. So, has he got a chance to try and cut this red in? Because after he's gone so far in the break, because he's very much going to be reluctant to try and give the turn away, because the two reds right now as they stand are going to be very much in the open play here. He's probably about to try and push the red from the left side cushion back into the open. Probably say, to be fair, it probably will suit Shaun Murphy. Depends on which kind of a first shot that he plays, of course, and he's played that one well. Has he played this one well enough so that he's not going to have a chance for Yize to get through to those reds, even with a little swerve around the black and the pink? Because if he has, that will leave Murphy with a very comfortable visit back to his chair. Because if you look at the way those reds are going to be away from the side cushions, and with the red next to the bulk cushion as well, you've got no chance to try and hit that one through the bulk, unless you're going to try and do that through the right side and then through the bulk cushion. But you naturally push that red to be heading towards the left middle, which, even though there's going to be plenty of space for you to try and put that red safe, he seems to have decided to go for the lower red here, which is risky again. He needs to play the shot with plenty of power or plenty of accuracy, and he's gone for both of those at the same time. That was a really nice snooker escape. And even though it may still leave a chance for Shaun Murphy to be taking the top red away into the left middle, but that was always going to be there for him. And he's probably done about as well as he could have. So just having a look for the cue ball's positioning in relation to the yellow and the green. If he's got a great chance of trying to get that white to be coming across the table, then certainly going to be introducing himself to the world here, because that will be very much down to Yize to try and get himself out of another snooker situation. Now then, let's see. He's got a chance for a double. He's got a chance of just trying to play this one with sending the red down the table. He's gone for the option number 2. He's managed to very much clear himself of any danger on that particular red. But remember, there's going to be one more red positioned to the right side cushion, and potentially now a chance for Yize to try and play a cross double here of this red, trying to get it down the table. It's going to be close to the blue. He didn't want to hit that blue, but in the end, because of how well he's managed to take that red away onto the black ball cushion, now that will leave Murphy with no chance trying to pot it, unless, of course, the red on the right-hand side of the black will go past the black and the pink, which is possible. And we've seen Murphy to be very much a specialist in those type of shots. For now, not really sure what he was trying to achieve there, but he's going to achieve a bad safety to be played. Well, I felt like he was always trying to aim that red into the black and the pink, which to me is always a story into the unknown, because you can never judge the perfect contact of the other colours, rather than just trying to play that red into the open play. So what can he do now? Can he try and take this red away? Maybe there is going to be a bit of pressure on this one now, because the red was going to be missed. But ultimately, look at the way that red is finished. That's going to be a perfect snooker to be lined up for Yize. I mean, he's managed to get that red to be joining the cue ball on the row alongside it, but in the end, just crawling in behind the blue, and now separating the white and the red away. Of course, the red that Murphy's going to play for is going to be the one on the black ball cushion, but that one is not going to be visible either. And he needs to make sure whatever he does, he's not going to be on the right-hand side of it. He shouldn't be on the right-hand side of it. It's going to be quite close. Well, I'll tell you what, any more to the right, and that would have been game over for Murphy, because that would have been a red potentially available. And even though you're not going to have an easy shot on the black to play, you can always try and go for a shot on the pink to be taken as well. So yeah, very much looking forward to see the way this is going to go now, because Yize has got a chance to try and play the red away onto the left side cushion. Whether he's going to be able to do that or not, by the way, it's, once again, he needs to try and put that on safe. But whatever he does, one thing that he absolutely mustn't do is hit this one too thin or too thick and then put that red to be bouncing like crazy off the left side cushion. Well, I'll tell you what, he needed to check that one a little bit better, because to me, he may have left a chance, not even the red that he was playing for, but the red next to the blue and the black. Well, that's going to be close. And to me, that one is possible. It's a risk for Murphy, because the natural angle will take that cue ball down on the table, which is where the second red is going to be as well. But potentially, if he cannons that black firmly with the cue ball, that's going to be a great colour, very much sorted for him, no matter what he does there, because he's going to have a pink on the left-hand side in relation to what the response of the cue ball is going to be due to that cannon. But whatever he does, he needs to go for one of those reds to be taken. And he decided to go for the red into the left corner. Now, he needed a little bit of luck of the jaw of the middle pocket. He didn't get it, it would seem, because he's going to be right at the top of the ball cushion here. Well, that's unlucky, but at the same time, that is such a deadly snooker that he can try and get lined up here on Yize. So, very important for him, of course, to try and make sure he covered the left side cushion. So, it seemed like he hasn't done the shot perfectly well, but once again, doesn't have to worry about anything that's going to the right, because that will require such a perfect shot to be taken. Well, it's a nasty snooker, this, and it's now very much down to a chance here to be taking this red away. And, well, I mean, there is going to be an opportunity for that cue ball to be played into the left side cushion, but he's going to have to do that through the bulk, try and basically hug the outside line of the green and the yellow, and make sure he's still going to be able to hit that red with plenty of power behind it, by the way, because you can't just try and get it narrow with a minute contact towards the black there, because that could easily get the black to be bouncing away towards the, the side cushion, and then the red is going to be playable into the right middle as well. So a very important shot. Well, he's taken this one. He's taken a very thin line. What's he going to be here? Because he needs to try and take this one very accurately so that he avoids a little kiss on the blue or the black, but also he needs to hit this one with power. He's going to hit the black, and, well, it's going to be fell in the miss there. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's not really going to be a lot of a value in taking this one on, and, yeah, he's going to ask Rob Spencer to try and put this one back there. Well, this is one of those chances where, especially since Murphy's the one that has got 10 points of a lead, he will find himself in a position where he could easily, in my view, if Yize continues to be playing shots like this from the right-hand side, he could easily win the frame without taking another shot there in relation to getting himself clear of snookers. Because, yes, you could say, you can make an adjustment every single time there, but you can't keep that power to be absolutely perfect. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen with the cue ball. Can he try and take this one away with a better chance on the second attempt? It's going to be close, and it's going to be really nicely played there. Wow, that is a brilliant shot there. As much as that was super tight towards the blue, wow, he could have easily found himself in a position having to play those shots over and over again. Now it'll be down to a really good chance for Yize to try and get himself back to his seat here, and potentially get himself lined up with a red to be taken off the left side cushion. So that still, despite Murphy being in a position of some sort of control here in relation to those 10 points that he has, still needs to be making sure he puts that red, or at least one of those colours there, as safe as he possibly can, because look at the position. You don't have a colour to be on the spot there, but at the same time, you don't have a colour to be in a horrible position. I tell you what, I just said put a red safe, put a colour safe, and he hasn't managed to do that. This red is playable here for Yize. Well, he's had one of those shots beforehand. Of course, he still had a minute problem of trying to go for the red onto the black ball cushion to be taken. For now, he's got a chance to try and take this one away into the yellow pocket. Plenty of topspin to cannon the yellow out of the way. He's going to miss that red, and let's see where the red is going to finish. Nearly potted the green in the progress. Now that's going to be over the corner pocket, which of course is not going to be any issues because, the brown is going to be next to it. Has to go after the green. So, if it was the other way around, you may be very difficult position to try and get out of. But in the end, as I say, green will be first before the brown. And for now, there will be a decent safety shot. It was just about to be perfect. But in the end, there was going to be a little bit of side there put on the cue ball clearly to try and get it in behind the paint, basically. Just cannon that red away onto the left side cushion, give the cue ball to be having a bit of a small bounce on the black ball cushion, and now he's going to have to try and hit this one with plenty of swerve around, but tell you what, he needs a mighty bit of spin, and he wasn't even close to it. With how far away he was, it'd be very much down to a chance here for Yize to try and, I feel like it probably was down to the spin wasn't really able to be a sort of, to be used out there and to be kicking into play because of how little pace there was on the white. But at the same time, it's now going to be Yize asking Rob Spencer to check on what's going to be the cue ball placement because he needs this one to be perfect. Once again, of course, he doesn't want to gain an unfair advantage, but at the same time, he needs to have the ability to try and play for the shot that he's gone for previously, or otherwise, it's going to have to be very much down to, having to play this shot off the right side cushion as well. Now, looking to try and put this one slightly back towards the pink. So very much carefully towards the pink. So Yize still fit. Now we'll be down to it backwards. Yeah, to be fair, from the previous angle that it was shown, it's probably going to be a very close one. And, probably say you can't be happy with this one. So, you can be happy with the placement of the cue ball, but you can't be happy in the position that he finds himself right now. 14 points behind, 35 at the table, and being snookered in behind the pink. He's going to try and serve this one again. More power this time, less room. But this is going to be a little bit closer here because you feel like Murphy's not really going to be too eager to try and come back to the table again. Because if he wasn't able to win the frame with the previous snooker that he landed in behind the brown and having the blue and the black to be covering the right-hand side of the table, well, now he's certainly going to have a great chance of doing at least getting a couple more of those points. And he'll be down to a chance here for Yize to try and get himself out of snooker on the third attempt. Well, we feel like still... it's going to be down to very much a fraction of the cue ball placement towards the paint. But at the same time, it's a very important fraction here because, I'd probably say if it misses this one more time, and so far in the previous two attempts, he wasn't anywhere near it, he has to go for something else because, even though he's still comfortable now, 18 points could very quickly turn into 36 in relation to those... the points that he's going to be looking for. And 36, well, that's going to be way too far away from that rate. He hasn't got a chance to do the way that he has been playing those type of shots here. And now, of course, it's not going to be one of those where you can call an impossible snooker here because he hasn't even tried to go for a shot into the right side cushion, but he's going to have to try and do that now because he's got no chance of trying to go for those shots 3 times again because that will put him in a position where, first of all, of course, he has to take the red away with the black, which is a nasty thing for you to be doing anyway because you want to concentrate on trying to pot the red. Otherwise, it's not really going to be very much worth the risk for him. So, well, one cushion escape. That's a bit reckless there from Yize once again because he needed to try and play that very much with a thin contact, trying to roll it up to the reds. Now, he does find himself to be in trouble, and 5 more points will go towards John Murphy here after the contact was made in the blue. You could say the line was probably good enough in relation to that, right? But at the same time now, let's have a little look. He's played this one very far away from the, the left side cushion, closer to the cue ball than the right middle as well. But now, he's got a very good chance of trying to find himself very much losing the frame on the snooker here, which is never nice, especially for a player that does it, but at the same time, it's part of the game, and now it's very much going to be down to a decent chance here to be taking this cue ball towards the pink, trying to find himself placed in that cue ball to where he was previously. So, well, I'll tell you what, it wasn't a perfect placement of the white, and, well, this one is going to be missed by a long way. And still trying to do that off the first cushion. Well, I'll tell you what, now we are going to find ourselves in a position where it's 31 points of a lead for Sean Murphy. So unless there is going to be a hit there, Yize is only going to be able to tie this one away. And now he's got a really good chance to try and go for the red to be taken on the left side cushion because, well, he's going to have to try and hit this one clearly good enough, and I'm surprised that he hasn't even attempted to try and do this one off 2 cushions. He's going to try and go for a 1 cushion escape. Has he got the contact? No, he hasn't, and he may have left a free ball here at last. Well, yeah, it will be a free ball here, so what can you do? I mean, there's a foul and a miss still to be called, because technically, he can still try and tie this one away. So Murphy will still try and get himself back to the table. So having a look at this one. 35 points of a lead. So now Murphy had a look at the free ball situation. But at the end, of course, at this time around, he will still be put back on this one. And, well, if he doesn't hit this one around, the frame is certainly going to be over because you've got such a difficult position that he's going to be finding himself to be snookered. Of course, the miss is not going to be called this time around, whatever happens here. But he's managed to hit this red away, so he can still tie just about for this frame. He needs to try and hit that red a couple of shots sooner than that, though, because still, that leaves very much a nice opportunity away for Sean Murphy to get himself through the first frame of the third session with exactly the result that he would have liked himself to see, especially whilst being 3 points down to 37. Now he's managed to score 69 more points, and some of those, of course, have come in from foul shots from Yize. Some of those have come from breaks as well. So then, once again, a good shot there from Murphy. Not allowing Yize to be seeing enough of this red. And in the end, he caught that one a little bit sideways. Of course, he's going to be very fortunate that, he's going to have the green pocket to be covered up by the green itself. That means he can't be taking that red away into the corner, which probably was something that he had in his mind there. Just make sure that he wasn't going to push it over the right middle pocket. Then anything else he was probably going to be dealt with. But now Murphy's mind seems to be very much engaged in trying to get even more snookers to be lined up, because for now he's got the chance to try and do that. He may as well try and use it to make it as comfortable of a finish line towards this frame, because you don't really want a chance for a respot to be given away to your opponent, because at this stage still, you have to try and play very carefully around the green. So is this going to be the time for Yize to try and play a decent safety shot now? Because, I mean, even though he can technically go for the red to be taken into the yellow pocket, you still feel like, he's going to have to try and play for the black, which is not an easy thing to do anyway. But at the same time, it's going to be very much down to a backspin to be applied here on this shot, which you're not allowed to be doing when you've got, so little distance in between the cue ball and the cushion, because you physically can't do it. Otherwise, you may be very much risking a miscue out there, or a kick, or anything else, which will be very much down to, a problem for yourself even bigger than being 35 points down, whilst only having the same number to be at the table. So, I mean, once again, even though the brown is going to be getting in the way of the cue ball, can Murphy try and cut this red into the middle? He can, and Yize certainly knew that was going to happen as soon as there was a contact in between the cue ball and the reds. This frame, after all that, is going to be very much Sean Murphy's one to lose. Now then, the cue ball to be played through the right side cushion, give it a big bounce on the cue ball, and then it'll be very much down to a shot on the brown to be taken. So still a decent opportunity to try and get the yellow away, and then make it down to a break of 31 points for a total clearance. Make sure he's going to be able to score even more points, which, despite him being now 8 frames to 10 down, he's still, as you can see, he's going to be very much 2 points away from reaching 1,000 points to be scored in the final in the opening 18 frames, which, it's not a best result that he would have had. Of course, he managed to do that very much sooner, a lot sooner, there against Selgron in just 16 frames, when he was very much above 1,000 at that stage. But still, it's a very nice number for him to get over with, and of course even nicer there, the fact that he's managed to take this frame away from Yize, and still cannons that ping nicely to be taken towards the left corner now, after he's taken the blue away. So still positioning for that paint to be rolled into the left corner, and now a total clearance is about to be completed with a black as well, and of course that will get him to a break of 31 points, which is still not going to be too bad at all. He was 37 down at the beginning point of this frame. He manages to win it with 105 points at the end. A very, very, important frame there for Shaun Murphy, because despite him having to try and do it the long way and the snooker way, as you might say, the safeties that he has played certainly have put him in the position like this, and now he finds himself to be very much lined up with a position of 8 frames to 10, and a great opportunity to try and take this one away from Yize, and very much at the starting point of this session. Whether he's going to be able to do that or not remains to be seen, but it certainly doesn't seem like he's going to be looking in too bad of a position here. As you can see with the scoreboard, he's still only going to be 2 frames away, and inevitably that does leave him in a position where he's going to be looking to try and take those ones away very much at the starting point of this third session. He can do it now, but is he going to be able to try and leave it a little bit later on? Not too sure about it, but for now, still finding himself to be very much in there with a mix, and just looking to try and take those reds away one by one at the starting point of the next frame. Of course, this time around, it will be very much down to Yize's break-off shot, so we'll see if Murphy's going to be able to exploit that one as well to the great extent. We'll still just play defense, give Murphy the chance. Low start time-wise, so aggressive is not too good. Next frame will be important to her. Yeah, I'd probably say no matter what happens in the next frame, he's still going to be just about the favourite, but for you to go from 10-7 of a lead in such an important 17 frame that he was able to win at the end of that second session there, I feel like that's going to be very disappointing for him to try and lose that straight away here. And of course, in a session context, it's now going to be 2 frames for Murphy straight away. So that full roll, which would have been a dreamland for Yize. I mean, dreamland, realistically, is trying to win this session by 5-3 or 6-2, which, I mean, once again, realistically, it's never going to happen there, but it may still happen even now. He's not really going to be looking good for 4-all, though, if he's going to lose another frame there, because that will have him with a chance to try and win 4 out of the remaining 6 frames, which, against someone like Shaun Murphy, which still, by the way, comes into the match with a potential chance to be the world number 1. The world number 1, remember, if my maths is going to be correct, at the very start of next season. Yes, he can only jump into the world number 2 right now, but Trump is going to lose 500,000 worth of ranking points because of Saudi Masters not being there. And he was very much the champion of the inaugural, tournament in 24-25 when he was able to produce that brilliant clearance against Williams. So right now, it's very much all to play for Shaun Murphy, because that surely is going to be the highest point of his career. To do that at 22 years of age was brilliant, especially as his first ever match at the Crucible as a debutant, having to go through all those matches in qualifying as well. Now, he finds himself to be in a position where he needs to win at least 1 more out of the remaining 2 frames, because, I mean, if he gets himself 2 frames for every 1 frame that Yize wins, it's still going to be good enough at this stage. Yes, of course, he'd like to fancy himself to be in a position where, he's going to be able to take every single one of those frames away, but it's not quite how it works in the final. And after the break-off shot there by Yize, still Murphy's having a look to see if he's going to be worth it for him to try and take that red away into the left corner. Short and sweet of it, probably is going to have to be no at this stage, because he's going to have to try and play for the reds into the left side cushion first. Oh, it's a bit of a pacey shot on the cue ball. It's a lot of a pacey shot on the cue ball. He needs to get cover on the brown. He's going to be super close. I'll tell you what, that's about as close as he can get, and I'm pretty sure, it's now going to be to a shot onto the right side rail there. Although Yize's got that look in his face where usually is going to be a sign that he's about to go for something which could turn out to be magnificent, could turn out to be very much dreadful as well. Now, play this one into the corner, no pressure about that one, brilliantly taken. I thought Murphy just about managed to get away with it whilst being so close to the brown, but in the end, Yize had other plans about that red, and he was able to take it beautifully into the left corner, and now position himself to be for the bold colours to be taken on as well. And win, and you'll call me great, lose, and you'll have many critics. Yeah, but at this stage, probably, I feel like I've already seen, as much as it's not going to be, Yize to win 7 frames like now and then still lose whilst having a gap of 17-8. that's probably going to be the only perspective for me where you have to say, it's been down to it. I feel like when you reach to the final, you can never criticize a player unless you can see they had a chance to get over the finish line and they haven't done it, which is why you should criticize Alan for it. As much as you have to feel sorry for him, but at the same time, it's sport. Sometimes it's not fair. He had his chances, and I feel like you shouldn't really be too sorry for him, because once again, if that was Ronnie O'Sullivan, I'd probably say the same thing. If you have a chance, you've been given the opportunity, you must take it. Otherwise, you shouldn't feel sorry for yourself. And just like Yize shouldn't feel sorry there for himself because he just played a bad shot on the red. And despite taking that red away into the left middle nicely, trying to get around the black there didn't work out. And now he's going to be completely out of position. So the first brilliant long red that he's taken, it's only going to be getting 5 points here. And well, let's see if he's going to just try and roll the cue ball towards the black here. Plenty of pace judgment, but still seems like he's managed to leave the left-hand side to be available here for Yize. And Sean Murphy to be taking that safety game to a whole new level. And you feel like this one probably was the point that the broadcasting team having a look at. The shot that he's played on the green, he had to probably try and get around the blue without touching it. He wasn't able to do that, and now he finds himself to be in a position of, well, basically back to square one here in relation to the first frame. And, well, I mean, Murphy there just having loads of trust in his cue ball control there, because if that red that Yize is looking at right now to the green pocket wasn't there, could have easily gone for the red into the right middle. Whether he would have made that one or not, we'll never find out. But I'll tell you what, he genuinely is thinking about this red to be taken into the green pocket, which I feel like is going to be a very weird shot to be played. And in the end, he's trying to take that cue ball away towards the green pocket. Not too close, but not too far. And then he'll still be very much down to the ball cushion of the cue ball to be played. So then 5 points of a lead, and very much back down to Sean Murphy again. I see Sean turning things around and being the favourite going into the final session. Well, it's once again, it's something that I predicted to happen in the second session. It hasn't quite worked out, but it was down to, a very important first couple of frames to be won by Yize. And you feel like so far, whoever wins the first couple of frames in the session does seem to have a really good start there. But the problem is for Sean Murphy, he doesn't find himself to be in a position for too many of those sessions. The first session, he's lost the first 3 frames, all to be on the pink and black, which was extremely, unfortunate not to win any one of them. But he managed to sort of get himself back into the action later on there. But right now, there's going to be a long shot available for Yize to try and cue this one into the right corner. Now, can he try and avoid putting unwanted side spin? Well, he always seemed like, he was trying to play that one a little bit too close to the front jaw. And at the end stage, he needed to play that shot absolutely spot on, which, hasn't done too bad in relation to the safety shot. But when it comes down to trying to pot the red, he would have been perfectly on the brown, by the way. But when it comes down to potting the red, he was never making that shot into the corner pocket. And now, a chance for Murphy to try and take that red away. Very thin on the edge. Play that with plenty of topspin and try and get around, all those reds and colours. Didn't want to contact with the black, but in the end, probably even helped there with Murphy because of just brushing it towards the right side, taking a little bit of power away from that red and, basically just minimising the bounce off the side cushion again. But once again, it seems like Yize is going to try and use this 2 frame of a gap as a bit of an incentive for him to try and go for those attacking reds, as he's about to go for another one. And sometimes it's not really something that he can be criticised for, because inevitably, if you go for those reds all the time there, and he seems to have gone for 3 of those already, you're going to make one of them eventually. And, of course, he's managed to take a brilliant one at the starting point of the frame, but only able to score 5 points out of it. And already missed a couple of reds later than that. Well, the cue ball is going to be very close towards the green pocket, and he's going to be into the green pocket, which doesn't really matter. I mean, it will be a ball in hands and 4 points away to Yize. But it seems like, from the positional point of view, he's not really going to have a chance to go for any long-range shot there. And of course, as much as he was down to quite close, because of a very unnatural location of the blue and the paint there, I mean, that red that he's playing for right now is the only reason I would say that he's not getting a free ball. So that could have been a very different circumstance, which, I mean, you never get to see a free ball to be on 13 reds out there. especially with the ball in hand. But Yize surely he's not going to try and go for this red into the corner. I mean, I said I'm all for it, trying to take those attacking shots there, but I mean, there has to be a bit of a sensibility point of view to it. And for now, it seems like Yize sees, Yize goes for it, and he misses for now. So the red is going to bounce towards the top side of the table. Probably available for Murphy here. Depends on how much of that red can he see past the green, but I would say he's actually going to fancy his chance to try and go for this one. Drop that cue ball to be on the black or the pink. He's gone for it. He's missed it, but whoa, this time around. Well, I didn't say woo for a reason. There's going to be a great chance this one for Yize to try and finally take that red away. And, well, for how many reds Yize has missed previously during the starting point of the frame, and Murphy goes for one of them, he misses it, and he leaves it. Not quite over the pocket, but certainly to be the easiest of all the shots that we've seen to be taken so far. Now, can he try and position himself nicely for the ball colours? I mean, the fact that he, of course, managed to mess around with the position of the blue here and the pink. You know, the reds, oh, I mean, he's missed that one. Don't really understand what's happened there. Really weird miss there from Yize. If I fated to lose playing good. Not like Yize a few years ago, meltdown. Yeah, but at the same time, you know, I feel like Yize was very much different because he came out of nowhere, whereas Yize was already, you know, at the World Grand Prix, I'll never forget that one from Ronnie. He said, at the World Grand Prix in Hong Kong, very much the tournament where you've seen Yize and Zhao Xingtong to be the favourites to win the whole thing. And in the end, I'm pretty sure Zhao Xingtong managed to beat Yize in the opening couple of rounds. Ronnie O'Sullivan said, given 3 years, he'll be the world number one and probably going to be a future world champion very soon as well. And, well, look how the tables have turned ever since, because now he's got a great chance of trying to go for the red away into the left side cushion. Make sure he's not going to be playing that cue ball too close to the jaw of the middle pocket. Just as I say that, I thought the bounce was going to lead him straight into the jaw of the middle, but in the end manages to avoid it. Hit the left side cushion from the bottom side of it, and now Murphy is going to be very keen on taking the plant away. I mean, he's not looking perfectly into the corner, which some of the members in the audience are going to be looking at as well. But at the same time, you know, the angle is very natural to bring the white to be heading to the top part of the table. Now then, how close is it going to be? It's going to be perfectly in the pocket. And look at how nicely he's played that, depending on the power distribution as well. Managing to perfectly be on the green and the brown. And now, the first real chance that we've seen from Shaun Murphy. You know, the red that he missed into the green pocket seemed like that was going to be quite a bad mistake there. But at the same time, now he's going to really try and score some big points down there, because it's never a nice situation for Yize to try and find himself at. But I'd still probably say, you know, Yize, he's going to have his chances of coming back to the table for the remainder of this frame to be pretty high, I would say, because it's difficult to say for sure. The opening part of the break is certainly going to be the most difficult one, and Murphy hasn't played a good shot here already, because of how tight he's going to be lined up for the red, pretty much alongside it with the cue ball, not too far away. So he may have to go for the red to be taken into the left corner here, along the black ball cushion, which is not too close to the pocket, but not too far away either. So able to take that one nicely. And now playing for the black here to be taken into the right corner. Try and give it a huge bounce here of the white, and make sure he's going to be positioning himself very much close to the black ball cushion, and just trying to leave himself with at least a little bit of the angle to be taken away on the red, and leaving himself with a chance to try and take that red away whilst playing for the black to be taken into the left corner. So he's managed to get himself through, I would say, the opening phase here, as he gets that red to be hammered into the right corner. Now, the second phase of the frame is going to be the most important one here, of course, because this is where you're going to have to try and send that cue ball to be heading into the reds, and you need to make sure you don't do a Yize, basically, of the previous frame where, you know, he's managed to play that shot probably not quite as well as he could have. He wasn't perfectly on the reds, and in a couple of shot time, he had to pay the price for it, and yeah, very much put Shaun Murphy back in with a chance, which at the end, on top of the foul points that he's managed to receive later on in the frame as well, it certainly helped him to try and get that 18 frame on the board. So then just having a look at the reds to be taken now into the right corner. So very much looking towards the red to be taken lowest of them all. And it seemed like he probably will need a straight line here of the red to be taken. And he's done pretty well. I mean, he probably has left himself with two options now. If he absolutely smashes this one with 100% of a power, he probably may be able to be on the left side of the black, but naturally, probably want to just try and drop that cue ball to be played on the right-hand side. Although, I'll probably say the left side is going to be better here for Murphy, but as I say, it's just such a difficult shot for you to play in relation to getting the most out of it that you may as well have decided to just roll that cue ball carefully onto the black and now leave himself down with a chance of taking the black away into the left corner, play the cue ball to be taken into the left-hand side of those reds, and he's played that absolutely brilliant. And the previous shot that he has done is surely going to be the one that will take him into the third phase of a frame, and now he needs to make sure there's not going to be a phase 4 here as well, because just carefully rolling that red away. But look at the way that he's managed to spread those reds away. One contact with the reds frees up another red, which will free up another red there, and inevitably you're going to have all four of those to be available just by taking it one by bit there. Now he's going to have 35 points of the advantage as well. Now positioning himself nicely to be taking another red away into the left corner and still play that cue ball to be landed on the right side of the black, and very carefully trying to position himself with the top side of it. And, well, he's actually trying to play for the pink, which is understandable. I mean, the pink spot is probably going to be very much covered up for now. So he doesn't want the pink to be in there. And he'll go backwards to the blue spot, which is not a bad thing for him to do again. And inevitably, probably try and take the blue away in the next couple of shots there. But that will be very much down to, since, you know, he's taking that red away from the top side of the pink spot. But it seems like he's going to try and go for it now, which is a little bit weird of a decision for me. Because where the blue is going to go right now, is it going to go right next to its own spot? Or is he going to actually squeeze past those reds and go onto the, the spot of the pink there? So in the end, Murphy, of course, had to judge that one well. So the blue was going to go underneath its own spot next to the pink. And now you'll be very much down to a shot on the red to be taken. The remaining two reds can be easily taken on the black, as long as you just play that with a little bit of topspin. And of course, make sure you leave yourself with a bit of the angle to try and take that red away. Back for the shot into the corner. It seemed like he's overplayed for this one slightly. And, well, underplayed, I should say. And he probably will be just taking that red away into the same pocket as the black has just disappeared. But now, of course, he leaves himself with the chance of taking another red away, which will put him by 57 points clear, whilst only having 51 at the table. So, doesn't look too bad for Murphy at all. Now about to carefully take that red away, make sure he's going to still play for that blue to be taken into the right part of the table. And once again, we're back to seeing the most of that break building from Murphy, and a really good break there of 66 points, which I said at the beginning of that break there, you probably would have expected Yize to come back to the table, or at least have a good chance of doing that at the end. As soon as Murphy managed to sort out all the difficulties of that break, he now fancies himself to be the man, looking to try and extend that break of 72 points, as he's joined 5th highest so far in the match that he's managed to achieve. And yeah, still going for the century is going to be difficult, but he can try and just roll this red carefully into the green pocket, leave himself to be positioned on the green or the yellow to be taken on. Probably the green here, but still probably would have liked to see a little bit more of the angle. He's going to have to hit this one perfectly into the part of those two reds, and it's not too bad at all. Now is he going to get a little bit of luck? He deserves it for the century, and well, needs that cue ball to be coming further and further away from the black. It seems like he's going to have to go for a difficult red to be taken, but surely now a shot which will allow the century to be possible. But he has unfortunately overcut that one, which was difficult to do, but at the end stage is still going to be a really good break of 76 points, which sees Shaun Murphy just 4 points away of 1,100 of those points to be scored. And now you'll be very much down to over to you, Yize, because you've seen that gap of 3 frames to disappear. Now you need to make sure you are going to get yourself to be playing the snooker that we have seen in that second session, because for now it's very much down to Shaun Murphy to try and take 2 of those opening frames away. And as I said, that is always going to put a little bit more pressure on Yize, because when he doesn't win the starting point of the session, he never seems to play as well as when he does win a couple of those, opening frames, especially if they're going to be risky there, especially if that will force your opponents to be slightly unsettled. It just seems like he's able to feed that negative confidence in himself nicely. But, you know, I felt like the factor of multiple things there, the fact that he was able to go for so many reds at the opening start of the frame, where he made one of them, only scored 5 points out of it, and then he's gone for 6 or 7 more. He's missed every single one of those reds, and then Murphy needs one chance, half decent opportunity at that stage, and, you know, manages to take it with a break of 76 points. It's going to be difficult to deal with, but right now, he does need to make sure he's going to be able to get away with this unscathed, because still an hour in and he still finds himself very much 8 frames away from glory. So, I mean, it was always going to be very much the case there, but we are guaranteed to be seen in the 4th session now. There's no chance for either one of the players to try and win this one here again. And, you know, it won't be a 3-session final. We haven't seen plenty of those recently, but at the same time, it could still be very much one of those Mark Williams against Yazington. It could still be one of those Jack Jones against Karen Wilson, or he could be getting into the zone of Luca Brissell against Mark Selby, Sean Murphy against Mark Selby in the recent couple of years, or of course, we go back to 2018, it could still be very much down to 18 plays 16 with Mark Williams against John Higgins, with that perfect ping that he missed for basically the shot for the match there. Higgins managed to clear up from that stage and forced it down to frame number 34, and of course Higgins was not able to get another chance in that match, and Williams was able to make the right decision in relation to just taking that one away. Whether Yize is trying to do something himself there, because it seems like he's trying to breathe through his mouth, which is, it could be just a sign there of trying to get himself to try and relax a little bit more. Maybe just something that he's doing as a face expression, or anyway, it's not too early to overanalyze this one, but still, he does certainly not have to overanalyze the position that he finds himself in the match. Only 1 frame clear, and ultimately at this stage, it does leave Sean Murphy to be very much the man looking to be the man to try and catch there, because he's still about to start the 20th frame away, and make sure you'll be coming down to Sean Murphy to try and utilize that break-off shot and still find himself to be in a position of, you know, spraying those reds away. We'll come back stronger after mini break, hopefully like yesterday. Strange how inconsistently. Yeah, I probably wouldn't say that's too early for me to be calling him inconsistent there, just because he lost 2 frames away. I mean, he hasn't played well, that's the bottom line, but I would probably reserve the judgment until at least 3 frames, preferably 4, because, you know, you say he's inconsistent, and then, you know, he's going to be more than capable of winning 2 of the next frames away, and then it's now down to 2 frames each, which is exactly the scoreline that he was looking for. Forget about everything that I just said, because the first shot that he's played in the frame of 20 does leave a chance for Sean Murphy, but, I mean, not literally everything that I said, but, yeah, it does seem like sometimes a single shot there, he takes it very quickly, which to me is a sign of lack of confidence, lack of belief, and just trying to, you know, hit that shot and that's over. Move on to the next one. Once again, it's a chance given away to Sean Murphy to be taking that red away into the corner. But Murphy, of course, now needs to be very much the man delivering, and for now, he's done anything but that. Well, if I said the previous shot from Murphy was bad, I mean, Murphy, by the way, managed to put 2 reds at the same shot there, which is incredible, but I mean, look at the cut that he managed to find there into the shot, into the right middle. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, it's a fluke, but it's still an incredible one to be taken on. Anyway, it's now 2 points instead of 1, but it doesn't get you a colour for free, or it doesn't allow you to skip the colour if you pot 2 reds at the same time. And yeah, he's just trying to roll up to the black carefully, and it's a poor shot from Murphy now, because that was a chance given away by Yize, and now that will certainly leave him with an opportunity to be given the turn back to the player from China. Played that very carefully onto the thin side on the right-hand side of it, and now positioning himself to be taking that cue ball all the way towards blocking that green. Well, to have the green to be blocking the red there, to be taken into the left corner. So once again, Murphy, just like it was in the previous couple of frames, he's going to be looking for an introduction shot there to try and get himself into the lead of these break building skills to be tested again here, which I feel like the one that he's looking at, don't really have a clue how he's going to be able to get through to that red, because I'm pretty sure he can't see the plant. That is going to be the only reasonable choice that I can see here on the left hand side of the ping. So very much down to probably take that cue ball away from the reds in the pack, which are going to be closest to the right side cushion. Make sure you get that cue ball to be positioned nicely for the right side as well. I mean, he does seem like he's desperately looking for a plan to be taken into the left corner, but it's really difficult one to be taken on, and you're going to have to try and fully commit to this one, which I feel like he doesn't need to be doing that at this stage of a match, especially after winning 2 frames away. And no surprise to me that he's refused that tempter, and he's just tried to roll that cue ball to be very much down to the black ball cushion. Could be feeling the pressure. Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a more reasonable thing, because it seems like whenever he doesn't play well, he always puts the pressure on himself, trying to go for those shots, which not really going to be heading in for you when you're not playing well. And it's a bit of a closed cycle where you have to try and make things happen, and that's going to be his mentality, but you don't play well, and the further you get into it, the more shots you have to take on, because you feel like, well, you're falling further and further behind, so you have to take more and more risks. But because you're not playing well and you're playing worse and worse, and the shots that you're trying to take are going to be getting harder and harder, it's very difficult to try and get out of that cycle. And usually, he does actually do it by going for those difficult shots, which will sort of resurrect him into the frame. Then he'll make a break of 40 points or something, which still unlikely to win the frame, but at least he'll get himself to be back in the mix there. And then he needs to try and win one of those scrappy frames, which, I mean, not really being the best player when it comes to those safety shots or having the realization of which shot to go for. I wouldn't really say that he's got bad stats when it comes down to winning those frames away. And now Murphy's still looking to try and play a good shot here. You know, not thinking about plans too many seconds here. But at the end stage, what kind of a shot has he played here? Does that red just below the blue go into the left corner? Because once again, this is exactly the shot that Yize is going to take on if it is available. I mean, once again, having a couple of looks towards the reds next to the pink here, but I mean, it's difficult to say, but I don't really see him playing a straightforward safety shot. So as I say, I'm trying to go for that red next to the blue to be cued. Well, I feel like he's going to be always overcutting this one to me, because he needs to realise that he will be down to a rate to be missed onto the side cushion. And look at that, brilliant. But just like I said, he needs those type of shots there to be coming in for him. But now he needs to make sure he doesn't stop there, and he's about to go for another shot here, which, you know, got it all wrong for him in the previous couple of frames. That first long red is always a great chance for you to try and make things right. But of course, you still need to make sure you're going to have a shot of the red to be taken after that colour. He's done that well, but has he done that well enough so that he's going to have a chance to try and drop this one for the black? Because once again, you don't have to second guess who was breaking off there. The black is on the cushion, which means it was very much down to Murphy to try and do that. Well, he's got a nasty red that he's chosen to try and go for here. He's played that one really, really well, but he needs that cue ball to go on. And, well, he's not too bad. I mean, he's on the wrong side of a blue in relation to being lower than he should be. Well, at least it's not going to be straight on this one, which is a dead end that you can't really do anything about. But still, he's got such a tight line of those reds to be taken. He needs to play through the yellow and the blue. Make sure you avoid that jaw to be touched. And, well, needs that cue ball to keep on rolling. It's a decent shot that he's played, but once again, that will keep him down to, you know, another good shot that he's played to try and keep him in the break. But he needs to try and get himself out of this sequence of shots there where he can't really win, because inevitably he will choke on one of those shots. And even if he's not going to choke and he just plays that shot badly, you know, he'll make it even more difficult to try and take the next shot away. So you can see what he's trying to do there. You know, he realised that taking the red that he was playing for is not really getting the flowers. So he needs to try and play that shot onto the right side cushion, on the left side cushion, I should say. Drop that cue ball to be lined up for the black, and at the same time, get himself to try and put the black to be back on his spot. And that will solve, if not all of his problems, then down to 50% of them easily, because he's going to have a guaranteed colour to play. But now, for now, he just needs to drop this red in, and he's played that one really well. Gentle, which was important, to make sure that if he was going to touch one of those front jaws, then it was very much down to red still, giving him the benefit of the doubt and dropping in. But the black now is going to be a shot which is even more difficult than the black that was missed in the first frame of the session by Sean Murphy. Now, Can he try and get the black in? Because as I said, that will solve 50% of his problems, but not now, because that's now created 3 times more issues for him, because he's played for the red, which will get Murphy to be very much lined up on the black, and now everything is going against him. Just one more shot to play to get you into a straightforward zone of snooker to be played, but now he was one shot too many. And, well, the problem for Yize is that he could not have done any worse of a job here. He's literally managed to roll the red carpet for Murphy, and he's taken him very much down to the door and say, well, come in. It's now very much your frame to take. He's got a line to be taking this cue ball for the black, which was something that Yize was taking on. He just managed to pot the reds, which was preventing the black from going into the left corner and also making the position of the black very difficult. And now, if he takes his black away, if he's going to be on the red, which probably is going to be the only place where he can go wrong, because it doesn't seem like he's going to have anything easy here in relation to the reds to play for. But if he manages to get through the opening phase, there's not going to be phase 3 out there, because Murphy doesn't waste chances like that. But for now, he still needs to try and work hard for this one, which I'm very surprised with what I've seen here. I mean, if Murphy is genuinely going for this red into the left corner, I mean, he's left himself with a massive shot to play. And it's not really the shot that will take him into that phase 2 that I was talking about, and he's missed it. Wow, that's a horrible shot that he's seen. And I'm really surprised with that from Murphy, because he genuinely was one shot away. And I feel like the damage was done on the first shot that he's taken, because that red is trying to block off all the pace away, and he was very straight on the black, which was something that he could not afford to be doing there. Well, that of course prevented him from trying to go into the reds, and now Yize is going to be the player trying to take the red away along the side cushion. He doesn't refuse shots like that, but the interesting thing about them is that he does, make some of them to be disappearing into the pocket. Can he try and make it this time around? No, he can't. Let's see where the red's going to bounce. He'll bounce towards the middle. Is he going to be blocked off by the blue? He'll be very, very close, He'll be very, very close, but I feel like because Murphy will need to see the right-hand side of that red, he may have actually managed to come away with this one. Once again, without leaving anything away to Murphy, but Sean is not the player that can complain. He had the best chance of anyone in this frame to try and take it away from Yize, and now, you can see that red is going to be blocked off by the blue, even for a safety shot of any decent aspect. So he's just going to try and take all the lowest red away and send it to the bold cushion. Smart shot there from Murphy, making sure there's going to be no temptation whatsoever for Yize to be playing that cue ball into the top edge of the table. So inevitably, that will leave Sean with a chance to, be very much the man trying to set the pace to the safety battle, which, the thing about, not getting the best chance away out of the frame is that, of course, there's 2 ways for you to react. You can try and say, well, I've had my chance, I'm not going to get it better than that. I'm super upset, I'm just going to try and go for everything now. Or you can try and make sure you work really hard for the next chance and you make it just about as good as the previous one, because technically, of course, he's now down to only 9 of those reds to be in open play. So it's not as many as you think. And one of them has gone on the side cushion. Neither one of the players will have to take more than 7 away, because 7 reds with expensive colours, they'll be getting you through to down to 42 points and getting down to 2 more reds with only 43 points in open play. It's a risky shot there from Yize, but he seems to have played that one so well on the cue ball's perspective. That was risky, but that was brilliant at the same time. And now, Murphy was very much the favourite for the safety battle, and now it will be coming back down to a decent shot to try and take this one away. And Sean was world champion 3 years before Wu was born. I'm pretty sure you can't count John, unfortunately. That's harsh, but it's not really true. It's either you or me that can't count. 3 years before Wu was born. Wu was 22 years of age. So Wu would have been born in 2004. Is that true? Is that correct? Or have I put myself to being an idiot now? 2003 and 2004. So, no, you would have been after. It would have been very much after. Yeah. So he would have been like 1 or 2 years when he was born. So you got that one wrong. Anyway, Yize was unfortunately unable to play that safety shot well enough. And now he put it down to a chance to be taking that red away into the green pocket. Oh, he's tried to go for that one straight away. He's missed it. Has he left anything available? He certainly has left anything available. And now he'll be coming back down to a shot to be taken into the yellow pocket. Everything seems to be missed right now. And, well, he'll be coming down to Yize to finally take those type of reds away. He still needs to bridge over the black with his body, over 6 reds with his cue, and over the pink for good measure as well. Makes the shot missable, but once again, surely he can't just keep missing those chances. He needs to take one of them, but, well, when he does do that, he won't be during the current shot that he's played. And has he left the same red to be available? Well, I tell you what, we are seeing Yize to be coming back to the form which lost him 5 frames on a bounce against Mark Allen, to the form that lost him 4 frames on a bounce against Sean Murphy. Unfortunately, it's not what Yize fans would like to see with that one as well. My mistake could happen to anyone. As I say, I only know that because I've actually looked at it and I've realised that he's 22 years of age. So I actually, my provisional thought was that, you know, he's going to be very much the same age as he basically was born in the same year when Murphy managed to win that world title. But then I realised I was thinking about myself. And now it'll be very much down to Yize to still would have been born a year or 2 before that. Now, once again, a good shot here on the red. But where's the cue ball going to finish? It's going to be tied to the blue. And, well, I mean, does this one cut into the left middle? Even if it doesn't, he needs to make this one in. I mean, the thing about Murphy is that he's genuinely taking this one to be a little bit ridiculous. Oh, it's close. But he's just about managing to use that pocket reasonably enough there to drop that blue into the left middle. And now he'll be coming back down to a chance for Sean Murphy to try and take this one away there with 16 points, place 13, 2 more reds in the open play, and then he'll very much come down to a chance to try and spread those reds away from each other. Now then a break of only 7 points, but ultimately still good enough to try and find himself ahead in this frame. As I said beforehand, you only need to take 7 of those reds away, as long as it's going to be down with expensive colours. You know, for now, the fact that he's taken the greens and yellows at the top end of the table probably will leave him with needing to take 8 of them away. But still, it's more than good enough here for Sean, because he's about to find himself to be the man, having 5 reds, very much all in the close position now, next to the pink. But at the same time, as he puts the last one of those reds away, well, he certainly has put all of his eggs in one basket here, and I'm really interested to see which colour he'll go for, because, I mean, I would have thought he was going to try and leave himself on the green to be taken, but now it's not quite an easy line to be taken, and he's always going to be low on the pace. Has he managed to be on the red here? He has. Can he get through to that red is the bottom line. I feel like he can. So he probably has managed to play the shot just about well enough. I mean, I genuinely was very surprised with how little power there was, and now it's now very much down to a shot to be taken into the left corner. So if he plays that one through onto the pink or the black, it doesn't really matter. I mean, he'll just allow himself to be taking that cue ball away and take this red away while still having a good chance to try and hold that cue ball for the blue or the pink. Probably unlikely to be playing this one for the black, and he has played it for the pink. So still a nice little shot there by Murphy, able to recover to full extent. And now he's going to have 4 reds ahead of himself. 13 points of a lead, and still looking very, very nicely to try and make it back down to 20 frames played and 10 all to be the scoreline. So, of course, that will turn it down to best of 15 to be played. First to 8, the format that you won't see on the World Snooker Tour this season or any other season that I can remember. But still very much looking down to a shot to be played on the red. The pink has to go onto the yellow spot, which it's not really good news for Murphy, but it's not the end of the world. And it's certainly not going to be the end of the world if he plays a good enough shot like that. Brilliant that he's managed to take the remaining 3 reds away from each other. And now he's still going to be on the black, and he's got nothing to be stopping him with, well, apart from the next shots that he still has to play. But in the end time, he will be very much down to. He's done everything he had to based on the positional play. And he's about to do a reverse Uno card there on Yize, because he was the man to have won the first 3 frames of yesterday. Well, now Sean Murphy's going to be down to the last 4 shots, and then he will be able to win the first 3 frames of today. Once again, having a look at that top right corner of the crowd, which, seemed like they had a couple of bad interactions. But it all started with that first session where he had a, fan shouting at him again. Well, Fang Jingyi, he was playing against, and then he had to go to the social media saying that if you are on the front row, make sure you're not going to be shouting sugar honey iced tea shot to me, especially when you're in the front row. He managed to come away with that match against Fang Jingyi whilst being behind on a couple of those occasions. And now he's still finding himself to be battling away against Yize here. And now, as I say, taking that blue away puts him 41 points clear. So then just one more red to be taken into the left corner. And then it'll be very much back down to a shot to be taken on the reds. And that will allow Murphy to be getting it through to 3 frames on the bounce. And ultimately at the end, that 17th frame for Yize is not going to be worthy of anything, because Murphy has managed to come back stronger, and he's managed to come back very much on a high performance there for himself. Another break of 50 plus there. We haven't seen a glimpse of that from Yize, but even when we have seen that, he just seems that he hasn't been able to put that one away. And now a double into the middle will stay away from the corner pocket, but it doesn't really matter. There wasn't a chance of century to be made anywhere at this stage. And he will be down to Shaun Murphy to have the comeback completed again. And he can still find himself to be the man leading this match, only for the second time there ever since the 7th frame, which was 13 frame encounters ago. Yize does find himself in a position where it's still going to be very much anyone's match for the taking, but I tell you what, after he had a 3-frame advantage to himself, now it's very much over to Murphy to try and deliver when it matters, and to try and make sure that he will be putting all on the line there in relation to what's going to happen of the performance and what is going to be the response from Shaun Murphy's point of view as well. Because if you feel like, Yize is going to be very much down to himself to try and take this one away there, then Shaun Murphy is still going to be very much capable of trying to respond with his own performance out there. And if he does it, then he'll be very much down to a really good opportunity for someone like Yize to still not be able to take these chances away and leave it down to Murphy to try and get his comeback to be completed. Because, one thing about Murphy is that he had to find himself to be the man chasing Zhao Xingtong throughout one session only. It was the session number 2. And, it wasn't really chasing him. It was Zhao Xingtong that was trying to chase him down. Then he managed to win a couple of those frames that got Zhao Xingtong to be ahead. But at the same time, he was dominating against Xiao Guodong. He was in full control until the end stage against Fang Jingyi. He was very much in control against John Higgins at the beginning of the match. Then it seems to have fallen apart for Murphy, and Higgins was very much starting to get a couple of frame advantage to himself. Murphy was able to come back from being 11-13 down, 15-13 down, win the latest 4 frames, and win the latest 6 out of 8 frames to be his for the taking as well, and get himself through to be the first finalist of this 2-man showdown. And now, the perfect setup, it would seem, is not too far away from being completed. Of course, this is bound to finish with an odd frame out there, so it will be very much down to one of the players to be taking the lead after the 3rd session is completed. But, well, I said 14-11 is going to be more than good enough for Yize, and now you'll probably snap your hand away for a 13-12 lead, because now the 10-7 of a lead that he had has fallen apart and has certainly disappeared, and now it is 10 frames each here in between Yize and very much down to Shaun Murphy as well. Now then, 70% of you have gone for Yize to be taking this one away from Shaun Murphy in the 3rd session, which right now is going to be a bit of a bold move. I mean, I was very much in there as well, but I did say we need to see Yize to be very much back to what we've seen in the 2nd session. For now, we haven't seen a glimpse of it, and you probably have to put it down to there was only one man that has turned up to those previous 3 frames. We've seen some great long shots, but that was a bit of a reckless shot there from Murphy. I mean, I know he feels like he can't miss right now, but that was certainly reckless to say the least, and it's going to be very interesting to see if Yize is actually going to be able to allow him to get away with this one, because, I mean, he missed that red by a mile, and Kanandak able to be heading into another red. Left the red that he missed into the right corner now to be available. So, what can someone like Yize do here? I mean, it doesn't seem like his biggest issue is going to be very much down to, taking those reds away. It's down to just trying to take those chances away with some high-value colours and just get himself through to 30 points or something. And once again, what's he done here? It's a horrible shot that he's played. He got the red in, but he may as well just put that one over the pocket because now got himself to be snookered, and he's got no chance of trying to play for the black. He's probably going to have to try and play for the pink here because look at the way that he's got one of those reds to be at the top edge of the table, and he'll be very much coming down to a bad shot that he's played, and well, needs to recover by just placing that cue ball carefully onto the pink, which could still cost him a couple of points. Oh, I mean, that's a horrible shot that he's played. That's going to be comfortably into those reds, and that'll take a little bit of time to try and replace those ones to be coming back to where they were. And, well, yeah, I mean, that was certainly a bit of a weird shot from Murphy there, but it still seems to have got him 6 points here in relation to just one, which was Yize was able to take. So, yeah, very much back down to a player from China to try and get this one behind here. So put the cue ball to be very much bound to a shot to be taken. So then just trying to get himself through to a chance on the left side cushion, and once again saying that he will be down to the pink that he's looking for, and the line seems to be better, and the spin needs to kick in, and he will be, and now it's a little shot that he's taken this time around. So not going to be giving too many of those points away, but ultimately there's still going to be a chance for Murphy now to have a look at the reds that he can try and go for in towards the green pocket. So we're very much down to a shot like that to be played to try and drop that cue ball to be positioned for the bold colours. For now, he'll be very much down to a decent shot that he's played, and will to go back to the style that got him here. Well, easier said than done, but as I say, he needs to try and get a spark there, which could be down to two things, down to three things probably. Sean Murphy leaving him an easy red, hasn't happened so far, or an easy chance with all the reds to be, sort of positioned perfectly well. No problem. Just try and make sure you get it in there amongst them, and then it's going to be very much yours fame for the taking. Then you've got a second chance of Murphy missing everything, and then inevitably you will be able to go for your chance away, which sort of was the case in the previous frame, but that still didn't really help him. And then, of course, you've got the third chance where you managed to put an outrageous red or a colour, and that sort of kickstarts your session to be very much going from ground one. And of course, still at that stage, you need to make sure that you've lost 3 frames on the bounce. You need to just try and take it out. I still find myself to have this match to be restarted from, very much the beginning point of it. And now looking to take this one away from those reds on the cue ball, and just a careful safety shot there that Murphy has played. He probably used his reckless mana away on the first shot that he's taken, which was very reckless there, but as I say, he still puts him 5 points clear somehow. Despite Yize taking that red away, but of course not being on the collar. Now, Woods just needs to make sure he plays those shots well enough. So the line seems to be good in relation to the green there, but it's going to just about go on the left-hand side of it. But still, it's a not bad shot. I was more concerned about the pace that he played that shot with, but in the end, he's still going to be very much on the top verge of the D, and still allowing himself to go for those type of shots there, with not really leaving anything away to Sean Murphy here. He's young with fragile mentality, hopefully not a bell down. Yeah, I'd probably say it's 1 frame too early to be saying that. If he loses this frame, it'll be very interesting to see what he comes away with the intermission, because if he comes out back after the intermission and he's still going to be playing snooker like this, I mean, he can't finish the smash away in the 3rd session, but I feel like he can really do some serious damage here, because for now, technically, you could still have 15-10 of a lead here for either one of the players, but right now, we probably all know who's more likely to achieve that lead, although that's someone that just put a red over the corner for Yize to try and consider here, but of course he would have learned from that previous shot, I would have hoped, because probably needs to try and play this one away from the right side cushion, and just making sure that he won't have that cue ball to be sticking to those reds again. How many of those we see in the open play there? It'll be difficult to try and play for the pink this time around here. I mean, can he try and play this one with a swerve? The swerve makes it missable. Or is he just going to try and judge the contact point so that he's going to play this one with full power? He hasn't played this one with full power, but as I said, I mean, what was he trying to achieve with that? What was he trying to achieve? This is what I said. He's going to be ending up exactly where he was beforehand. I mean, this is why I said play this shot with full power. Just make sure you make your way through those reds, and at the end stage, it's probably worse than what happened beforehand, and he knows. He's shaking his head, but now you're in trouble here because, you know, you could find yourself to be getting out of it for first time there. But at the same time, if you catch the brown very much from the lower side onto the top side of it, then it'll be very much down to a long shot to be available for Murphy. And of course, you know, your opponent sees all your struggles. And this is what he's done. I mean, he caught the green not to be full ball there, but still, that's a chance for Shaun Murphy there to try and take that red away to the right corner. Still, get himself the position on the blue or the black there to be available. And I mean, probably difficult to be on the black, but at the same time, yeah, probably his best chance is going to be down to the pink or the blue to be taken. But yeah, the more you look at that red, the more you actually think like he might have actually been choosing the right shot to play, and he'll be down to a cross double to be taken. It wasn't too far away from the pocket, but now it's a bad shot from Murphy to respond with. Just how bad it's going to be, we're going to find out very soon when the camera will tell us whether he can get through to the reds, close to the right corner. He can. Well, I'll tell you what, one thing I will say about Murphy, he does seem to take a long time to get that first chance away. Now we've seen 2 of those already to be taken with those 2 reds, and just because he didn't land on the colour, still feel like if Murphy just keeps on knocking on the door, you inevitably leave him a chance which Yize takes. But for now, that's not the case. And it's not going to be the case for the next couple of shots there as well, because now, finally, we are going to have a chance which Murphy clearly was waiting for. And he should make sure that he takes this one away very comfortably at the end. As I say, as long as he takes those chances, well, very long for them to actually get to him, when he's going to be scoring some good points here, it's going to be difficult to stop that machine, and it could be very much down to another break of 60 or 70 points, which of course at this stage will get Murphy comfortably to be over the finish line as well. We have already seen this pattern versus Allen, won easily one session, crumbling the next one, then coming back in super shape, and then not too strong but enough to win the last. Yeah, but the thing about Mark Allen is that Shaun Murphy is not going to be crumbling. You know, the first session was horrible for Allen, but it was really good performance from Yize. The second one was a nightmare to watch, probably the worst session of snooker that we've seen, but ultimately it was down to Allen play better, Yize play quite bad, as much as it's a very simple language there, but that probably was the summary of that session. We've only seen 6 frames in that one, and the last one I don't want to talk about. There was another frame which was more than an hour long. Then we've seen some, you know, high value breaks, but at the same time, you know, he's lost that session 6-1, I'm pretty sure, or 5-1. You know, it was 6-2 to start with, and he ended up 7-0, so he was very much 5-1 that he's lost that session with. So, yeah, he needs to make sure he comes away with a lot more snooker like we've seen in that session number 2. But, you know, it's for now, it's just a matter of time until Murphy's going to feel like, well, he's going to have his own session number 2 and get himself to be winning those frames, which he's already doing for fun. I mean, he's managed to win 3 on the bounce, and he's looking nicely to win another one here. As long as he takes the pink away without issues, which he has done. So getting himself to be nicely lined up on the collar. But remember, I feel like Yize is going to be having a bit of a more difficult opponent in Shaun Murphy than Mark Williams for Watchalong. And that might be disrespectful, and that might be purely because Murphy's about to be finding himself ahead there. But Williams wasn't playing well in that match, I'll be honest with you. He wasn't playing well. Nobody was playing well against Watchalong. Ronnie was playing horrific. Williams was having alright spells, but he wasn't good enough. You know, Wakelin was once again showing some glimpses, but he wasn't good enough. Murphy has probably been the most granite player in relation to the whole championship. We've seen the performance of the tournament for me was Vafai against Trump. We've seen the brilliance of Murphy against Xiao Guodong, but the way that he was able to find his way during those very difficult matches against Xington, 13-10, against Higgins, 17-15, always found himself behind against Higgins as well. The player that is so difficult to try and find a couple of frames on. You know, now he finds himself to be 10-7 down, all of a sudden, you know, 25's into this frame for himself. He's got a great chance of trying to take those shots away. Now about to take the pink away once again from the black ball spot, and taking those easy points there for himself. Is it 8 or 9 frames this session? It will be 8 frames. We need to shut the gate and have a counter plan. He does, but you'll be very much down to if he can be doing that. Would say 9 frames. Nope. It'll be 8 frames for this one. So the schedule is going to be 8 frames for the first session, 9 frames for the second session, 8 frames for session number 3, 10 frames for session number 4. So yeah, you have 8, 9, 17, plus 8, 25, plus 10, 35. So that's the way they do the maths, which is not too bad. I don't really have a problem with it. And you'll probably be down to Murphy just to make sure you was going to be able to, well, get at least 4 of those frames to be won here in relation to this frame, because already 31 points clear, only 91 on the table, which is a huge boost to him as well. Not having to take as many of those points as he usually would have to be doing because of, starting with 4 points of a head start despite not potting anything. And Yize actually being able to pot 2 reds. I mean, probably the most ridiculous thing that you could ever hear in the final. I've managed to pot 2 reds, but my opponent that hasn't potted anything started his break with a head start of points. It doesn't make sense, does it? Because he landed himself to be out of position on the colours, and he wasn't able to get through to the colours on every single one of those reds. But yeah, it's just down to Murphy clearly seeing all of that. And even though he wasn't playing well at the starting point, now he finds himself to be cruising towards the finish line. Doesn't have to be doing anything magnificent, but it's being a lot more consistent in relation to what we're seeing from Yize's point of view. And come on, Wu, I think he has pressure now. Yeah, it will be very much down to a great chance for Yize to try and respond after the intermission, but whether he's going to be able to do that. I mean, unpopular opinion, intermission doesn't help Yize. I mean, we're going to do that as a poll, by the way, because he's going to be stuck on 68%, which at this stage is laughable. I mean, as much as I was very much within those 68% saying that he's going to win this one 14-11, I mean, he's going to have to win 4 frames from now on to make that score to count, and that's going to be very much mission impossible to try and do it against someone as consistent against Murphy, because I'm pretty sure we haven't seen Murphy to lose 4 frames on the bounce. We've seen him lose 3 against Xiaozington and against Yize, twice against Yize, by the way. But I'm pretty sure at any stage during he certainly hasn't lost 4 against Jingyi. He hasn't lost 4 in total against Xiao Guodong. As much as he was close against Higgins, he certainly hasn't lost 4 against Xiaozington either. He was close against Higgins. I'm pretty sure he would not have lost 4 on the bounce. May have been 3 at some stage. What time is the 4th session? It'll be at 7 o'clock in the UK, so it'll be 4.5 hours from now on. Now I'm looking to try and take the blue away into the right middle. Gonna cook on with you after this frame. Well, enjoy that one, John. And I'm watching it with my favourite crew. I tell you what, I don't know if I'm gonna be proud or jealous of that one, because certainly would have done for a little bit of food there to be done. But anyway, enjoy that one. I tell you what, Murphy's going to be absolutely delighted there, because I'm not saying he didn't have to work hard for it, but he didn't play well. Honestly, I'm telling you, Murphy has not played well in those 4 frames, and he's managed to win them all. He can do so much better than this, and that's probably the most dangerous thing about it. I mean, I thought he was going to be a little bit too close to the front jaw, but he's not. I mean, he's had 2 good frames, I would say, because of how well he was able to execute those raids. But remember, he started off with missing the black into the corner, which he should have been punished for, and that's first frame out of the picture, which could have been such a different story there if Yize wasn't going to stop himself on scoring just 37 points and, despite having 34 points of a gap, have an absolute calamity of a frame. It's going to be very much down to a chance here to be taking the pink away into the right middle, put himself more than 60 points clear, which of course is going to be good enough if you're going to have 59 points at the table and leave Yize to be having 2 snookers to try and find out there. So he's now ahead by 63 points, remaining of 59. He needs 1 snooker to try and force himself a respot, but of course that wouldn't be the case anyway, because Murphy's about to take the red away into the... I thought he was going to be able to see that red away into the left corner. For now, he's just going to try and play this one safe. Falling apart. Bon appetit to all people eating. Yeah, lovely message out there. 59 points of a break. So once again, just about higher than the value of 50 plus. And it'll still be very much good enough to potentially keep Yize in his seat. He probably can't be allowed to be doing that because he needs to try and dig in really deep. And if he's not going to be able to find some reinforce for himself, he just needs to make sure that Murphy's not going to be able to discover that one himself. Something is wrong with Yize, but he's going to have to try and certainly up his performance out there, because now, that's a horrible safety shot. Once again, the first shot that he plays in his frame, and it will be probably his last one after that break-off shot from 59 points. He'll be very much down to 59 being available here, so it'll be some way to try and finish this first mini session there, because he has technically got the black to be available. Tell you what, this will be brilliant way for Murphy to try and punish his opponent for that mistake. He's got to be on the blue here, but at the same time, if he finishes off with a break of 50 plus at the end of it, you know, it's going to be certainly a statement out there to the world that you may be thinking about. I've seen someone saying that Karen Wilson might have been the last player to have won the, the World Championship from Britain. I was like, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. The fact that we had Zhao Xingtong and Yize, the only two Chinese players standing after the first round, it probably just shows you how, overreacting so many of the people are going to be out there, because they genuinely feel like just because we've got two Chinese players in the final, and the first one was very much having the story of the underdog of his life out there, it was better than Leicester City to be winning the league, because he literally would have been like, trying to win the Champions League whilst being in the Championship, which is never going to happen there. But at the same time, I mean, you've got such a great story now to be written from Murphy's point of view. And the thing about him, we're clearly seeing it, he doesn't care about what's going to happen around him. He just tries to focus on himself. And even if he finds himself a couple of frames behind, he's still able to come away with a great performance out there. And look at the red that he's just taken, brilliantly cut into the left corner. And now still looking to try and make a break of 50 plus points out there. Sean's still breaking off the third red. He is. So as I say, that was another thing that was kind of annoying me as well. People were saying that he needs to change off his break-off shot. He doesn't. It's the most overreacting thing again, because if you change your break-off shot after he has worked for you for, 100 frames that he's played leading up to this match, and he hasn't worked for 10 frames, oh my God, it hasn't worked out for me for 10 frames. I mean, I have to do something about it for 5 break-off shots that I've done. I mean, it certainly was just a matter of time until he was able to get a little bit of a tweak on that break-off shot, and then he was always going to be very much back down to, all the good stuff to be very much with him at that stage. As he now takes the brown away, so still positioning himself now to be lined up for the blue, and still looking to try and make it very much down to just 42 points that he takes, as the blue is going to disappear into the left middle. So he's still looking to try and play for the pink and the black. And as I say, the break of 59 got him in a position of full control of this frame. Now a break of 48 points and counting. We'll certainly getting back down to a nice opportunity here to be taken. For now, the black, he's about to disappear into the left corner, and then he'll come back down to a shot to be taken on the black. And then he will be very much down to a break of 55 points, which wins it in the end for Shaun Murphy. And I tell you what, unfortunately, and as harsh as that statement is going to be, Yize may as well have not turned up for the first 4 frames, because we haven't seen anything of him apart from those couple of breaks of 30 plus points. And now you can see why he's going to have very much 330 points more in relation to Yize of all the points scored in those previous 21 frames. I'll tell you what, Yize must be really glad he had that break of 3 frames to Shaun Murphy, because if it wasn't for that, we could easily see Shaun Murphy to be already one hand on the trophy. For now, he'll be very much back down to a different story to be made, but still very much the same name here to be in firm control of this match. And now be back down to Shaun Murphy to have a lead of 11 frames to 10. Well, what is this going to bring? The remaining 4 frames of the first session of the final day of the World Championship. I'll tell you what, it's not going to bring. It's not going to bring a very confident win for Shaun Murphy, or for Yize, I should say, because at this stage, it'll be a hell of a comeback here, because, it felt like the whole reason, the whole point me and many others were saying it's such a good, important lead for him is that he wins that first frame, and he's got the momentum to try and do it all over again in the third session. And that would have been 11-7. That would have been such a massive lead of 4 frames. You feel like he's entering that Zhao Xingtong against Mark Williams era. And he can just try and hold on to that lead of 4 frames until the end. But if you look at those numbers, and those numbers were very much there as well yesterday, pot success has dropped down from 92 to 91% for Shaun Murphy, 86% for Yize. He's still up at 83% for his safety shots. Yize is sitting at 75. That is absolutely dreadful for the World Championship final. He needs to make sure he does something. What can he do? Is absolutely down to him. But at the end stage, we need a strong coffee at the break. I tell you what, he needs a really good strong coffee out there. Well, if that's going to help him, he may as well be sponsored by a coffee brand, because for now, he does find himself to be in a very, very dangerous position here to try and take it very much over and away from Sean Murphy, because you still feel like at this stage, winning the first frame is not really going to be good enough of that mini session. It's never going to happen, by the way, if he's not going to be able to forget about what happened beforehand, and it seemed like he's unable to do it. And also, you have to give a shout out to Murphy, because I've said he's not playing well, and I'll stick to that for now, but he's playing so clever. And I'm going to try and break it down to, you feel like there's not really an easy chance left for Yize. There's always something in there, but it's never a shot that you feel like, what a miss that was. It's just because of them accumulating those misses, you feel like, well, how did he miss those shots 5 times in a row? But Murphy's clearly trying to be aggressive, but at the same time, it's very defensive. And once again, it's a very, detailed point that I want to try and get across to you, because he's starting off very slowly, whether it's his own break-off shot, whether it's break-off shot by Yize, but he's not going for those long rates. He's leaving that opportunity for Yize right now, because he realizes that if he leaves him with a really difficult long rate, and he has done that for the first couple of frames, which was clearly out of character, and that was clearly down to unintentionally to be doing that. But after he realized that Yize wasn't able to convert those chances away, he clearly thought to himself, well, if I leave something that is halfway there, which is difficult for Yize to pot, but it's sort of in there, and he may go for it, he may not, I may as well do that. Why? Because, why not to be doing it? Because you're surely going to have him to be taking that red away, which will get us out of a stalemate. So you want to try and make sure you're going to play to your own strengths. So that's going to be a very much attacking frame that you get. But also, if he hasn't had a break of more than 30 points in the previous frames, well, what kind of a chance that he has to be doing that now? And even then, if he had those, type of chance that he's converted, then you sort of say, well, maybe I should not have done that well. But still, at the same time, he would have gotten those 3 frames that he was going for those long reds, he wasn't landing on the colour, and he wasn't able to score big enough. Then that still got me those frames that I managed to win and take away from him. So that's very much down to my thinking process. Once again, I would say it'd be down to Yize not taking his chances away, but not really getting those as many chances as we have seen from him as well. And ultimately, I would put it down to not good enough when it comes down to trying to create those chances for it as well. I'm going to explain myself there as well, because he finds himself in a position where he's still better at long range than Murphy right now, and I would say that with a very straight face. But that's purely down to pot success. Down to the positional success, I would say he's struggling badly, and he's not able to get that cue ball. I mean, look at what happened in the previous frame. He's taken a red which was over the pocket twice, and whether that was down to low IQ, whether it was down to, I'll go for a hit and hope with very little power, but you know what I mean, I'll play that into the zone. And the second time, it was bizarre because he was never going to be on anything apart from the pink, and he was nowhere near to be on the pink. The first time, you could say it's not a lot that he can do because of how straight he was on that red, but at the same time, he certainly can do better than being right in behind those bunch of reds, which you're not even, you're not seeing a colour, and you always realise that the only colour that you can play for is going to be the pink, and that is going to be advantage to your opponent straight away because of how close you leave that cue ball to be in relation to that pink. So, I feel like that was very much, you got outplayed on every single front line there. If there were 4 departments of safety, outplayed completely, of long range, I mean, has he outplayed me in that one as well? Because you could say that Murphy's managed to take fewer of those long range shots, but he's managed to convert them into something. And also, he's got a better percentage of those long shots because of how many attempts there was from Yize. If you sort of put it down to the equation of how many attempts he's managed to make into the pocket versus how many he's managed to miss, it's actually not going to be a good conversion rate for him. So you may as well outplay him in that department as well. When it comes down taking those chances, it may be just down to 0 from Yize and sort of 80 from Murphy, both in terms of points and in terms of percentage as well. Then positional success. Murphy, I wouldn't say he was super strong, but probably wasn't the weakest part of his game. I feel like if I was to say something negative of Murphy, probably down to not taking his own chances first time. Because you feel like he was sort of boundary and borderline, and he was very marginal during those couple of frames there where he just kept feeding on with those chances because he was missing, Yize was taking 3 or 4 of those reds away with a long range, And after those 3 or 4, he was leaving 1 or 2 for Murphy. But Sean wasn't taking those 1 and 2. So he was giving a couple more until he was down to 5 or 6 that he missed. And then he was a red that, you would expect Murphy to pot, and then he was potting it. And as soon as he got himself a chance, by the way, one thing I will absolutely praise Murphy on is that as soon as he got the opportunity away, he never seemed like he was going to be in any sort of doubt to try and convert that opportunity into a frame-winning break. Because even when he was down to 50s, 60s, 40s, pretty sure there was one break that he only was able to score 40 points out of, you feel like there's no chance that Yize is winning this frame now, because he finds himself in a position where he's going to have so many of those difficult reds. He hasn't got an easy introduction. Murphy's safety shots are better. So once again, it's a dead end. And the only way for him to try and get out of that dead end is going to be by playing a really good long-range red, which he very rarely seems to do, unless it's going to be the red that you would expect him to support. Especially, I feel like that's going to be down to a mental thing as well. Murphy, the likes of Murphy, the likes of Trump, maybe certainly the likes of Ronnie, Higgins, Williams, they don't care how many points you're behind. They try and take it with a mindset as if it's a starting point of a frame. Yize, as soon as he finds himself 40 or 30 points behind, yes, once again, I know that he's managed to come back from, being a couple of points down against Allen, but what I'm saying is, unless it's a red that you expect him to pot, if it's going to be a mid-range shot, absolutely, that's fine. But if it's a long range, whatever reason, he just gets on his head badly and he's unable to produce that performance as if it was down from 0-0 of a start, or he was the one very much leading 50 points there, which I still feel like his best opportunity to try and go for a long-range shot will probably be down to when he's down at 0-0. Because even when he only needs one more rate, he may pot it, and it's a lot better than he's going to be in front than he's behind. In terms of purely on the eye test, for me, on his pot success range from distance. But I still wouldn't say that it's going to be as good as the mindset there. He seems to come away at the starting point of a frame where it's very much down to, well, I know what I need to do. I go for this red, and if I leave it, there's plenty of chances for me to try and get another opportunity in this frame alone. So, yeah, very much down to that one as well. Will serve him some international roast coffee? Well, potentially, yeah. And I hope we could win, but gave credit to Murphy for coming back from 7-10 behind. Yes, absolutely. You should be absolutely praising Murphy. But as I say, the most dangerous thing about Sean is that I'm pretty sure he's going to admit that himself. He's not playing his best snooker. That says, at least for me, that was left against another player from China, Xiao Gudong. I feel like he was just the most complete. And then the third session against Yao Dingtong was brilliant as well. I'm honestly not a fan of Murphy, but I think he's a class player that probably deserves to win the second. I'm not a fan of Murphy, but I have got a huge respect for him, and I don't understand the hate that he gets. Got nothing against the guy. Always seems like he's got a smile on his face, unless you generally have got everything to be heading against you, and I know for a fact that I will not be the person that tries to put up a smile on the face when I'm not feeling well. It's a defensive reaction. There's nothing wrong with that. And just because sometimes it's going to be too direct, for me, I like that a lot more, because it just tells me that he's actually going to be speaking the things that he thinks, and he's not trying to hide behind, being neutral, sitting on the fence. He's very much one of those people that I've got nothing bad to say against, and maybe some of those things that he comes across once in a lifetime, but tell me a player on the World Snooker Tour that doesn't do that. Probably someone like Selby, but you know what I mean. It comes across as arrogant, if I'm honest. Good for him. I don't see a problem of being an arrogant sportsman, because you're a professional. They're all arrogant. Tell me someone that is very much humble. Someone like Robertson. Has Robertson managed to get to the second World Championship final? No. Murphy managed to get to the 5th. Arguably, Murphy has been more successful than Robertson. And once again, it's nothing against Neil, but he's the first person that comes to mind there. I probably would say it's good for you to be arrogant, because you need to be arrogant to succeed in the sport. Otherwise, if you don't trust yourself, and if you don't believe you're the best, even if you're going to be the world number 128 on the rankings, then you shouldn't be doing it in this sport, because it's a very cruel sport. It's not a team sport when you can have sort of blame with someone else, or the coaches, the conditions, the table, the headache, the magnetic wind or whatever. It just has to be down to you to perform well. And if you perform well, you may be able to win. Sometimes it's not even going to be good enough. You play your best snooker. So, yeah, I still feel like Murphy's had a better season than Robertson now. Once again, I'm picking up on Neil, but he probably had a better season than any player from the home nations. You know, the only player for me that would stand out better than him would probably be Yize himself, if he's able to overcome this one, and Xiaoxington, because of him winning 3 tournaments. The only player to have won more than 2 ranking tournaments as well, and only the 4th player to have won more than a single tournament out there, with Selby, champion of champions in the UK Championship. Then you got Wilson to be winning Shanghai Masters and the Masters as well. And then you've got obviously Xington to be doing that with Players Series of the World Grand Prix, Players Championship and the Tour Championship. And then you're going to have either Murphy or Yize to have won a ranking title on top of. Murphy has managed to win it at the British Open, and Yize has managed to do it at the, at the International Championship. So they can blame stuff. The tip, yeah, he can, but it doesn't really, like, I get what he's saying there, but I would never say it's down to, it's always on you to blame, because I feel like, you know, that interview that Trump has done with his tip, Robertson, I'm not sure, I'm picking on Robertson again, I'm pretty sure Neil had an issue with his tip some part during the season. I didn't like the comments of Ronnie on his tip, blaming that on the tip, because I feel like you are the one that changed the tip midway through the session against Xiaoxington. He was the one that bit it off, that bin his cue and stuff like that. Wilson was blaming on the cue, but to be fair, he was sort of saying that it's down to him as well. And I like that with Kyron and Judd, because whether it comes down with experience, that both of them have been the world number 1 and the world number 2. I'm not sure if Kyron was the world number 1, to be fair, after he won the 2024 World Championship. I have a friend who was on the Q Tour that made a final a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, the other opponent was Xington. Fair enough. I mean, can you imagine doing that genuinely? Because I'd actually believe that, because you know, I know they have a very much open seat to the Q Tour, but whether you get quite far to the final, it's going to be down to your ability. But I've actually seen, just because I was looking back on the previous matches there of Xington at the start of the season, I've generally seen that all those matches were first to 3. And there were genuine people that managed to get like within 1 frame away, so it was down to the decider. And I'm like, some of the best peoples on the actual tour can't do that, but some of the amateurs can. But it just shows you that sometimes fake it till you make it. But I mean, at the end stage, when you make it down to the tour, you can just find the next gear. You find such a great performance within yourself as well. But listen, if you come back to this one, then it's going to be very difficult to try and stop the machine of Murphy. He's capable of doing that, but whether he's going to be able to do that here, it'd be very much interesting to be seeing. But at the same time, I probably would disagree that he will be down to Yize here. He'll be down to Sean Murphy. For me, down to Yize he was when he was 10-7 that he was leading out there. Xington killed everyone on the Q Tour before he came back after the ban. Nah, I'm pretty sure that wasn't quite the case. I mean, I'm not going to be able to bring that up now if I find Sean is the one who's easy to be offended by the crowd. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I don't really like that. But once again, it's difficult to say how genuinely irritating that is, because I can imagine that it is irritating, but he does seem to be the man that gets offended and gets very much, you know, sort of misplaced by those little tiny bits. And it's not a thing that I like about him, and that's genuine, but once again, that probably makes up for when things are going well for him in relation to that particular frame, even when he's losing. You know, I'm not saying that everything is going purple for him and he's, you know, leaving himself in their brilliant bubble. But even when he's behind and he makes a century break, he does interact nicely with the crowd. So I would probably say he sort of evils itself out. But sometimes, you know, when you miss a shot and you feel like someone was shouting you behind you, that's not a nice thing to be doing. And I know for a fact, if I was in his shoes, I'd probably be doing the same thing. So I can't really blame him on that one. So, but I understand what you mean. And sometimes it can be very much down to just get on with the game. Make sure you don't milk it too much. But Xington won 3 Eurocues events in a row. I'll have to watch. No. But what I'm saying is that there were matches that he nearly lost there, because I remember there was a scoreline of 3-2, 3-2, 3-1, 3-0, and sort of like, you know, there were the matches, and the way the Q2 works, I'm pretty sure, because it was down to the draw, so it was down to elimination. So if you lose one of those matches, you're going to be out for the whole thing, and then we're going to see the different world champion in 25 there. So yeah, it's, as I say, he obviously wasn't, you know, he didn't just get himself to be on steroids and came back very much stronger, you know, when he comes back down to the UK Championship that he lost, by the way, to Sean Murphy in the last 16. Only one one place away from the quarterfinals, but at the same time, he was playing really, really well, even in the qualifiers of the World Championship. So it was certainly down to him being probably a head above everyone else. But we knew that one anyway, because how many of those members of the Q Tour Challengers have managed to win the UK Championship in 2021? Short races are hard. Yeah. But I suppose it could come down to, if he was down to first to 10, it could have been a very different scoreline because of how little room you have to sort of get yourself up to speed. And the thing that I can imagine was happening there is that they probably realized, they probably knew who he was, and that sort of gave him a little bit of a tactics to work with. So they may as well try to play to very much their strengths, where on the Q Tour sometimes it's going to be very much down to try score 20 points and then just play safe, which he's not really good at. He's going to be down to getting himself a chance and, very much trying to turn it into a break of 70, 80, 90 or 100. So maybe that was something that happened, but once again, in the end, he's done really well to come back since that 2-year ban, which, some people said it was harsh. Some people said he probably should not have got a ban as well, but I probably agree with it. At the time off, I probably feel like the punishment was fair, because it wasn't down to, anywhere near what we've seen from Liu Hang, Lang Bingbo or Yang Mingtao, but at the same time, it was nowhere near to the extent that, once again, if you compare it to someone like Bingtao, it was a whole different level there if you think about it. Anyone on the tour is an amazing player, extremely hard to keep your card, let alone to be in the top 64 territory. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, you will have Ronnie O'Sullivan in 2020 to be saying, and I actually remember, because we had a conversation based on that, in that when we were playing snooker out there, and the father genuinely told it to my grandfather. He was like, Sullivan said this, and this, and he said, I genuinely need to lose an arm and a leg for me to drop out of the top 64. And it was like, everyone laughed at it, but, it's now been 6 years later, and you feel like, well, it hasn't played pretty much for 2 seasons, and he still finds himself to be quite comfortably sitting in the top 16. So, yeah. Still, anyway, it's all very much down to relative information, but something that is going to be very much down to the reality here. Shaun Murphy to go for the break-off shot and leaving it down to the crowd to try and settle for a couple of more moments. So let's see. Well, it seemed like he's not going to have to try and wait for something here. Whether he's unhappy with something or he's just down to some sort of preparation to be done. So then, what's it going to be here? Don't know. It doesn't seem like there was a lot of sound out there. But anyway, Murphy, it's perfectly fine to be doing that before the first shot has even been played. Because just make sure you're going to be able to... Your break-off shot, of course, the one that he's came up with right now, it requires plenty of strength and plenty of accuracy to be played with. So he just needs to make sure that everything is going to be perfect with him. And it's not quite perfect, because he has pushed one of those reds to be quite close to the left corner here. So, once again, the first frame after the intermission will be the best chance for Yize to try and get himself back to make it a 50-50 of a match. And he's missed that red, which is not a good sign straight away. And he's going to put the same red to be available to the right corner. Well, this is what I said. The intermission doesn't usually help you in relation to the players like Yize, like Chang Min-yu, and very much like the likes of Anthony Kowalski. You need to make sure it's going to be a whole new session for you. But tell you what, if the game is going to come the way that it has beforehand, it'll be very much coming down to the fourth session being pretty much a formality there for Murphy. Because if he gets himself 4 more frames on the board, 15-10, especially from 10-7 down, it'll be impossible for him to try and lose that kind of a lead, even if Yize is going to be able to turn up with some of the best snooker that he has played in his entire life. So then, looking at the current session long pot success, 31% for Yize. But as you can see, still probably not so much higher in relation to Shaun Murphy, as he's got 43%. But when it comes down to pot success, this is where it's going to be the biggest issue for him. 64% of a pot success there for Yize in a final of an amateur event. That probably would be very much a good stat for you to have at a World Championship final across professionals. That's going to be very much down to a laughable stat to be seen after the first 4 frames. Current session table time, 38% for Yize, 62% for Shaun Murphy, which probably just proves the point that I said. He's getting the chances to try and play those couple of shots at the table, but seemed like Murphy, he's looking for the red to be taken to the corner, but, well, for me, He's probably going to have to try and play for the blue. Wow, he's playing for a safety now. Well, that's, once again, this is what he's going to try and keep Yize very much back in contention here. The fact that we still are not seeing the brilliance of Murphy yet, although it probably was a little bit harsh on him here because, you know, he did have a very difficult position of those reds to try and work with. But at the end stage, as I say, just needs to make sure he doesn't drop the hammer, and he's going to be able to go for those frames to be accumulating every single time there without dropping one. Because that frame that Yize can potentially win could easily kickstart his campaign. And for now, he's played a really good safety shot, making sure he's going to have the red to be covered up by the green, very much close to the right corner. So then, play the shot to be taken into the left part of the table here. And now trying to get that one lined up with a little bit of backspin here to be taken as well. Probably playing that off the left side is not really going to make it for you because you're going to have to make sure you get the cover from the brown, or green or blue out there, which is going to be difficult for you to achieve from that angle. But I suppose if you force the cue ball to go too close to the right side cushion, that rate is not going to be any more of a problem than it is right now, whilst having the green in the way, but needs to play the shot well. And surprised that he's going to be on the lower side of a blue, but it doesn't really change that he's played that shot well enough. And as I say, putting that one very close towards the right side cushion. And now, well, that red, which Yize was looking forward to try and play there, had the cue ball seeing the gap through the brown and green at the end stage. Will be down to probably, I mean, there's the red on the left-hand side of the paint that he can try and take into the left corner, but at the same time, is it going to be down to that red to be taken and just making it down to the paint to be taken into the right corner as well? It's going to be difficult to try and achieve that, but at the same stage, it'll probably be down to, well, it's a risky shot again. He's trying to cut the red into the corner. He's not going to guaranteed to be on the collar, and he's just played a horrible shot there. Well, there's the cue ball going to finish. He needs to have a huge bounce of the side cushion, just trying to make it as awkward as he can for Sean Murphy to, of course, he's going to be able to see this red no matter what happens, but in relation to those colours, you know, it feels like he had a bit of the extension of the pocket, but he's played that pretty much straight into the red, so he was going to miss that one by a mile. But, you know, if he misses that one without having that red over the corner pocket, it would have been a different story here. But now, I feel like how close the red is and how far away the cue ball is as well, you should be able there for Murphy to try and get it across to the colours. He's able to do that now on the blue, and it is going to be 7 points of a lead here for Sean Murphy, and he's still looking to try and find himself in a position where he left off at that previous break of only 6 points. Of course, still, the downside of that break-off shot is now going to be very much down to the factor of the black not to be available, but at the same time, you know, one good shot on the black, and it could be very much game on for you to try and take it another break. And a single visitor's frame is going to be required here. So for now, he's on the lower side of the blue, so trying to take that one in between the brown and the green when it comes to the cue ball. Play that carefully off the right side, and make sure he's going to be a huge bounce of the white to try and get it. Oh, that's a huge bounce of the blue. And is that going to be something that Yize was looking for? Well, has he got a chance to be taking the red away into the corner? How? I mean, I'm not going to say how do you miss the blue like that, but how has he missed the blue? Because of how important this break is going to be for him. As I say, make sure whatever you do in the position of Murphy, you mustn't give an easy chance away. And he's played that one actually into the front jaw of the middle pocket, which is very surprising. You know, and in the end, he's played that one with a minor effect and just allowed Yize to be coming back to the table. So, you're very much back down to a chance on the yellow to be taken. And, well, can he try and make the most out of this break here? Because at least he gets himself a chance to try and battle it out until, you know, the 23rd frame. And make it very much down to 11 frames each after the midway points of the third session to be completed as well. You know, just looking at the reds that he's looking to play for right now. Of course, the best kind of advice that you give to him is that try and play those couple of first shots with a couple of, you know, extra thinking processes there for you. Make sure you're going to try and leave it down to as long as you can to have a think about it. Of course, don't leave it to a ridiculous point, but at the same time, you know, make sure it's going to be very reasonable for you, and make sure you'll try and give it your best effort, especially with, as said, Murphy has not been leaving him with easy reds to be taken. It always seems like it's a mid-range shot there. It's basically a shot where you can miss. I'm not saying you should be missing a shot like that, but at the same time, it's, you know, you can sort of justify why it's not going to be making it to the corner pocket. But now, you know, the position is difficult. The position is very difficult because of how few colours he has. You know, he basically has got only the bold colours to work with. The blue was missed by Murphy. It's now on the left side cushion, and you need perfectly to be lined up for that one. And even then, you know, the blue is not going to be the colour that will go onto the black ball spot, which probably puts it down to whether there's going to be plenty of points to try and use that blue until at least, you know, the second phase of a frame, which still seems to be so far from Yize. The second phase of the frame is certainly going to come here as soon as we get the black to be on the spot. He'll probably jump to the third frame straight away, by the way, because that will allow him to sort of take that one to a comfortable zone in relation to he's got plenty of reds to play for. Yes, they're going to be very much congested next to each other, and also they're going to be getting in the way of each other as well. He's trying to play for the blue now, which, I mean, he had the angle to do that. I'm not sure that was the right shot to play for, because straight away you can see he's going to be straight on the blue. And that puts him to be having a problem here already. Because how do you get that cubel to be away from the side cushion? And the answer is you can't. And you have to be doing that, because if you're going to have that cubel to be placed on the side cushion, think about the way you need to be taking the next red away to try and play for the blue. That won't be an easy thing for you to do. For now he's taking that blue away. But what kind of a shot that he has now does he have in relation to the red that he can take into the corner? But this is what I said. This is what I said. Don't take the blue away. He won't give you anything until you take the black out of the pocket. So now he's got massive two shots to play. And the red into the corner. He's played that one really well in relation to getting the pot in. Has he managed to be on the black? Well, that's fortunate. That's really fortunate. But he's managed to get the black into the open play. And he's going to be on the black right now. Well, sometimes you need a little bit of luck to kickstart your campaign. And now we are certainly going to have a kick for Yize. Well, with the professional terms, not the kick that sort of makes you a miscue or something. Played another great shot there to be on the red into the corner. But certainly now, he is going to be very much a firm favourite for the first time in a while to be winning the frame away. And if he's unable to finish off frames like this, you're not going to be able to get anywhere near that frame number 18 win, which of course he's going to be looking for after looking to try and win pretty much 100 frames so far in the World Championship. Now just trying to go for the black taken into the right corner. Make sure he's going to have a chance to stay on the red to be taken here into the right corner. So just carefully play for that red to be taken into the right part of the table. Managed to get a couple of those reds to be an open play as well. And just looking to try take the black away into the left corner. Play the shot with plenty of topspin. And just make sure he's going to be getting that cue ball to be played through the black ball cushion. Get himself lined up for the reds to be taken into the right middle. And play this shot one really, really well again. So just needs to make sure, even if he does, you know, go on to pot those 4 more reds, which he does need to try and get himself over the finish line, he needs to make sure he takes what have happened in this frame and he takes it as a very much a boost for him in the next frame as well. Because now, you know, it's not like he has got that 10-7 of a lead anymore. He's going to have to try and do it very much from scratch there. And he has turned this one to be a 1st-7 race if he is, as I say, able to pot 3 more reds away. For now, going for the black to be taken into the right corner. Make sure you don't play that one too close to the back and jaw, but he's played that into the front jaw. And this is what we've seen from Yize time and time again. And this probably was the worst shot that we've seen to be missed. It's probably equivalent of the black that Mark Cullen has missed, but of course, catching that into the front jaw is going to be absolutely unforgivable, especially when you play that shot with power. It will be down to a break of 37 points, and that's the end of Yize. So now, very much the same thing for Sean Murphy. He's got a simple position ahead of him. And of course, hopefully for himself, he won't have an easy mistake to come very much out of nowhere as well. But for now, 29 points of a lead for Yize. But those points are going to disappear rapidly. You know, if you've got 3 reds to be an open play, one of them to be a little bit too close to the right side cushion, but plenty of room to try and get in behind of it if you feel like you don't really fancy your chances. And take that shot away into the left middle. For now, take that red away into the corner. Make sure he's still going to have a chance to play for the black here, which probably wants to try and get that thing sorted with 2 reds next to the pink as soon as he can. I mean, he's played for the blue, which probably feels like to me he's going to try and get this thing sorted now. Just needs to make sure he catches the pink from the left side or from the center. He doesn't want to do it from the right side. And yeah, to be fair, he decided to try and hold the horses for now. Don't push them and make sure he's going to have a red to be taken into the right corner here. So 16 points is the lead for Yize now as it stands. Now just making sure he's got a chance to get that cue ball to be played away from the side cushion and get himself probably lined up for the blue again, because you can't play for the pink unless you play that shot very much into the, the bunch of the pink and the two reds. So it's not really going to be an angle to try and play for the black either. So just try and take this one carefully well into the right corner. Make sure he's still going to have plenty of angle on the blue. And I tell you what, the longer that he doesn't try and go into those two reds, the more I'm going to start to be thinking that he might actually be available of the one to the left side, which you can try and take without needing to go into the bunch. Well, we had to go into the bunch now, and it seems like he hasn't played this one perfectly well, but he was always going to have to pay some sort of a price there for trying to take that shot away from the colour onto the red, whilst not actually having one red to play for. He cannoned those two reds away nicely, but now it's down to a one-shot wonder. If he's on the colour and the red is in, it should be down to an easy finish there for Murphy. Now that the red is in, how's he on the colour? It's not perfectly on the colour, And the blue is going to be out of the picture. And the yellow is going to be out of the picture. So it's down to the brown or green to try and take it there for Sean Murphy. But the 9 points of the lead is still going to be there for Yize. But at this stage, as I say, it's still very much back to Sean Murphy trying to get himself back into the comfortable shot on the red, which is not there yet. It's better than the brown that he was taking previously because of how easy it is to play for the colour here. But once again, needs to make sure he gets that red in. I've seen a couple of those to be missed from the pink spot. Very much the pink for the match, for the frame, or whatever it was. And for now, this one was taken a little bit too close to the front jaw, but now still makes that red into the corner, and he's going to be perfectly lined up for the black to be taken into the corner here as well. For now, it's going to be very much down to Sean Murphy to try and make it down to 12-10 of the leads and win 5 frames on the bounce here against Yize and make himself to be very much the leading man in relation to what's going to happen in the remainder of session number 3, and then of course very much back down to what's going to happen in relation to session 4 as well. Wobbles the black in, and you could argue he played that exactly the same way as Yize has done, but of course lesser of power. Well, I'll tell you what, that was close and that was a little bit tense, but of course because he played that black so close to the front jaw, he now run himself slightly a little bit wide on this red. Still plenty of pocket to aim at. And as I said, this is one of those reds that you would expect to be taken without further complications. Now he needs to be a little bit, well, he doesn't want to be straight on the pink here because that will force him to be taking the black away. Let's have a look. What sort of angle does he have on the pink? He's going for the pink, so he certainly must have some sort of angle. And ideally, he wants to probably be very much down to the cue ball to be played on the lower side cushion because that will allow him to be taking that away from the far end jaw, which would put it down to a risk. And he's taking that pink well. And once again, a break of 40 points. He's now putting him down to a yellow to be taken into its own pocket. And just very carefully playing for the green into its own pocket here as well. So it'll be down to the brown, which will take him over the finish line here and put him more than 18 points clear. It'll be down to 19 points exactly. 18 at the table at that stage if he does take the green and the brown away. And ultimately, this is now going to be down to a comeback from Yize to be made as well. My heart bleeds for Woot to miss that black as the final nail in the casket. Yeah, probably feels like that. It's not quite the final stage of the match, but it felt like if he's not able to take that chance away and make it as good as he was, it's going to be very difficult to try and get it back down to, very much back to ground 1, back to ground 0. But listen, if Murphy was able to do that, the way that the Yize plays the game, he may still be able to achieve that at the end. But when I say the end, he'll very much be down to 3 more frames to play, and I'll be very surprised if he takes at least 2 of those as well. And if he doesn't, then the 14-11 will be very much down to Sean Murphy to have the reality of. And I tell you what, that is going to be one of the biggest turnarounds that we would ever see in the Crucible final, especially for that to come in day number 2 as well. In the end, he's able to take that pink away. He's not going to bother about the black. And once again, those 60s just keep coming in there from Murphy. And it's another break of 60 plus points, which is going to make it there for Sean Murphy. And now he will be 22 frames in. A bit of a change of the pace here And now back down to Sean Murphy to be very much in the lead for only the third frame, but now 6th frame away from the ultimate glory, and he's already not too far at all from all those finals that he had with Stuart Bingham in 2015, with John Higgins in 2009, I'm pretty sure he was, or that it was 2007. Can't remember which one it was. Let's have a look. Now, 2007 was the final against Selby for Higgins, so it probably was down to 2009 there against John. And of course, at that stage, he only managed to win 9 frames out there, 18-9, very much 17 years and a single day there away from that final, which he would have lost to Sean Murphy, but to John Higgins, I should say. Ultimately, the World Championship against Stuart Bingham was probably the chance where, he was down as a favourite because he managed to cruise over to the final with the likes of Anthony McGill, with the likes of Barry Hawkins. Bingham needed to take Trump away in a decider at that stage, so Murphy just wasn't quite able to make it past him, and he still, of course, would have been considered as a favourite down to the 2015 World Snooker Championship. But when it comes down to the 2021 final against Mark Selby, listen, he managed to make it the same scoreline as he was against Bingham, and it was actually Bingham that Selby has managed to beat in the semi-final as well. But I feel like Murphy very much had a minor advantage in the first couple of sessions, but as soon as he got down to 7-6, as I said, Selby managed to win 4 frames in the bounce, and he never allowed Murphy back into that final again. So then, is he going to be back down to Sean Murphy to try and take this one away from Yize? Because for now, he still does find himself in the position of being 12 frames to 10 as his lead, and now it's back down to Yize to try and break away for that 23rd frame. And as I said, well, that would have been the mission, very much minimum for him at the starting point of this session. It's now mission maximum to try and win those 2 frames away and make it down to that cue ball to be placed nicely onto the ball cushion. So still a shot to be played now for Sean Murphy. Does he feel like, he wants to be taking that red away into the corner? Seems like he can't miss whenever he gets those opportunities in, but even when he does miss, Yize just seems to come away with a miss is going to be even more reasonable and even more costly for him. Now then, can he try? Well, he's going to go for this red now. Is he going to make this one in? He won't. It felt like the fact that the cue ball was down onto the ball cushion was probably pushing him towards refusing that type of a shot. But of course, when you win 5 frames on a bounce, it's very difficult for you to try and refuse anything, as long as that's not going to leave 100% of a chance to your opponent. But it was anything but for him, because he was still getting that cue ball to bounce towards the ball cushion, and it was one of those shots to nothing there, unless you leave that red to be very much over the corner pocket. So then Yize is trying to separate those reds away, and he needs to make sure he's going to get cover now on the green. He'll be close. I feel like he's just allowed Sean Murphy to be seeing too much there. Potentially. And red to be taken into the left corner as well. So, can he try and make that red into the corner? Make sure you'll be very much down to a shot on the cue ball to be taken here, and allow himself to be the man, looking to try and put some real pressure here on Yize. Now looking for that red to be taken into the left corner. Does he have what it takes? Well, this one is going to be very straight, and he can't really play for that black to be taken without rolling that cue ball slightly towards the top side of the table. Well, that was always a little bit too many things to consider there. And now, as long as the black goes into the left corner, it will be another really good chance away for Yize to try and finally turn this session around. It's not too late just yet, but it feels like if it's going to be 14-11, it may just about be a little bit too late at that stage. So now having a look at this red, because he would have realised the position on the black that he has, but seemed like he's going to have the pink available if the red is going to make it to the pocket. So then Yize needs to have a performance now. He's able to take that red away. How's the queuing? Not too good, but not too bad. I mean, he still lines up for the blue. That, of course, still seemed like it was very much down to a problem for him to try and take into the green pocket with that first frame. How many things have changed since that point as well. But now is he going to try and cut this one in and get that cue ball to be coming through the gap of the brown and yellow? Plenty of topspin, plenty of power. Needs to be on the lower side of the red. Just needs to make sure he's not going to be in between the two of them. And he's all right. He's all right, to be fair here. So we're taking that red away into the right corner. The new cloth is catching all of guard. Murphy adapted well. Whether he's going to be down to it or not, seems like something is certainly catching him off guard. And now trying to take that red away nicely into the corner he goes. Once again, every single shot there will be very crucial for him because you probably have to say, I will put it down there. I'm not surprised that he missed that black off the spot there, but I'll be surprised if he does it again. Because I feel like you always need to have that little bit of a wake-up call there to be made halfway through the break. So I would expect him to have a better chance right now to be winning the frame than he was previously. But of course, it still doesn't mean anything if he misses another one of those shots like he has beforehand. And he hasn't got an easy position ahead of himself either, because the problem with the previous frame is that he was the easiest position that he could dream about, but this time around he's going to have to try and make some reds to be in the open play. He's going to have to try and study the way that the black is going to be possible into the left corner. He needs to make sure he's not going to be too high on the black now. And, well, just trying to potentially get one of those reds away into the main pack, which of course you get one less red that he can pot there, but at the same time he really needs that red on the left hand side of the black to be taken away from the equation. And if that's going to mean that he's going to lose a red, then so be it. Or he's trying to just hold that cue ball with. It's a really difficult shot for you to play, and I'm surprised that he's gone for it, but he's managed to make that one really well. So the 19 points of a break. Still looking to try and take that red away into the left corner. And looking to try and play this shot through the top spin. Carefully taken into the left corner. Play this one with plenty of spin on the white, but it seemed like the line that he's taken, he's going to try and play this one for the blue. Or he's going to be taking it for the pink. I mean, it's not bad in relation to, he probably wants to try and keep the pink there. It depends if he will go back onto its own spot, because if it does, absolutely, take it away. But if it doesn't, and he's going to go right underneath those reds, then it may still be a problem that is not really worth fixing for now. And, yeah, just leave that pink to being there. The fact that he's taken it clearly feels like the pink is going to go and cover those reds on the left-hand side, which is not too bad for him right now, because he's still going to have plenty of other options to try and take. So for now, just having a very careful look in relation to the red to be taken into the corner. So still make sure you're going to have a chance to roll that red in whilst playing on the black or the blue. He needs it to be some sort of size. Well, it's going to be very, very straight on this one, and ultimately just about to be wrong side of it as well. Straight away he's looking for the yellow, but the problem is he needs to be looking at the green here, and he probably needs to be looking at a safety shot in a couple of shots time, because how do you get out of here? Even if you take the yellow away, you need the cue ball to be on the left-hand side of the table because of the way that those reds will go. I was trying to achieve something with the yellow, but I feel like topspin and trying to take that one plenty of side spin as well to basically keep that cue ball away from rolling onto the right part of the table. Well, yeah, I feel like it's not really a shot to play for. So what's the decision? It doesn't make a decision just yet. It seems to be very much in between, going for the yellow and blue, but I genuinely don't understand what's the difference. I mean, the yellow will get you a chance to get somewhere near those reds. The blue is basically a shot for 5 points, unless you try and make something impossible out of it. The yellow, well, I mean, if you put plenty of left side spin on it, which makes the pot to be difficult, nah, it's not good enough. But it was never going to be good enough. He was just trying to put a little bit of less side spin on it, and plenty of it, I should say, try and get that cue ball to be closer on the left-hand side of those reds. So still, a break of 29 points, but at least, you know, as I said, I don't really expect him to be missing something. And, you know, a position like this, as much as it's frustrating, but it probably was down to happen at some point. Just needs to make sure he wins another one of those safety battles now. And for now, he needs to realise that he does have a head start of one more shot to play. Trying to get those reds all to be very much in a straight line. Trying to use the blue as the backup point as well. And it's a decent shot that he's played. Probably a little bit further to the brown spot there. Would have been even more help for Yize. But at the same time, it's definitely going to be a great chance here for Murphy to try and get himself back in the mix without having to play a shot over the side cushion. And just making sure that he gets that cue ball to keep on rolling towards the brown and green. Well, has he left to be available? But ultimately, a thing that I want to get an answer on, is there a gap which will see that cue ball to go past those reds without touching any one of them? Because at that stage, I'm probably going to say this red is worth taking on there for Yize, because he needs to try and get himself into a position where, you know, he's still going to be looking to try and make a deal out of this match. So a massive shot here if he makes it. He's missed it. He's canning away the black, and where's that cue ball going to finish? He needs the blue come into play badly. He needs it to come in now, and he has done so. So he's got the perfect cover on the blue in relation to the reds. Then he's left over the right corner. But he still has got a chance there, Murphy, to take a red away on the left-hand side of the table in relation to the cue ball that he wants to try and play that red into the right corner. So, does he have what it takes again to roll that red in? Because the position is not going to look too good, but we've seen that with Murphy. He can try and take a decent position away and turn it into something really good, and he can try and turn something really good into a frame-winning break there. Can he try and take the red away? He can't. Let's see if there's going to be any sign of a fluke. There won't be. Now, is he going to have the cover on the brown? He won't. What sort of angle does Yize have on this one? I tell you what, he's going to be really tempted to try and just play this one with Stephen Maguire or jump type of a shot. Roll the reds into the corner and make sure he'll be coming down to the top side of the table. Well, he's played it for the pink, and I tell you what, it's not too bad at all. It's pretty much perfect out there from what he had previously, but still, he doesn't want to be very much straight on the pink, although that might still leave him with a chance to play those type of reds away into the left corner. And the fact that he's going to have the pink available to him is not going to be too bad of a news either, as he now tries to take that one away, cannons another red away, and that is going to be a brilliant shot, which buys him 2 more reds to be taken on. And now 36 points of a lead is going to be his as well. Looking to try and take it down to a red now to be posted into the corner and make it down to that cue ball to keep on rolling towards the pink and try and take that one away carefully into the right corner here as well. Now position himself for the red to be played into the left part of the table. Make sure he just carefully rolls that pink away with minimal power. And as we see on the camera, just perfectly roll that one nicely into the corner. So once again, as I said, it was always going to have a frame like the previous one, but it's just the problem was he came at such a crucial moment in relation to the scoreline, but also he came under such an easy chance that he had. But if you're going to miss a black like that, you're not really going to be very much deserving to win a frame. So then now, 50 points of a lead after the pink has disappeared into the left middle, making sure he's still playing that one carefully for the red to be taken into the left corner. At least Yize changing his style. He's still going for the long shots. He is, but you know, he was pretty fortunate that he didn't leave a chance away after missing that red despite being 29 points clear. But you feel like that was something that we've seen from him during the last couple of frames there, where he wasn't really useless. He was just not really getting that finishing touch there. And now looking to get that finishing touch and still getting down to, you know, the worst case scenario that Murphy's going to take it down to 14-11, which is not 15-10, let's be honest, and that still leaves him with a chance, even though 14-11 does leave with, you know, what's it now, 6 out of the remaining 10 frames that he has to win. Or 7, I should say, 7 out of the remaining 10, which is difficult, but it's possible for you to try and make it very much down to the showdown. Now, so 67 points ahead of himself, and 58 points is the gap to Sean Murphy. Hopefully he'll recover quickly. Well, he just needs to make sure he takes at least 1 more frame away after this one. For now, he needs to make sure he's over the finish line here. Because as I said, you could all, you know, and me included, we could all speculate about what's going to happen in the next frame. And then he misses a black like that. And he feels like he's going to be very much in a difficult position there. And a little bit surprised the shot that he's played previously on the pink. That leaves him with a difficult frame ball to be taken now. Pretty much of the black ball spot. Of the red trying to roll into the left corner. I mean, it's not an easy shot. It's the one you would expect him to make. And he makes that one really nicely. Perfectly into the corner pocket. So still looking to try and get himself lined up for the pink. And that would, of course, eliminate any sort of hopes for Sean Murphy to be coming back to the table. And that will leave Yize to be pretty positive about the performance in this particular frame. And at last, he's able to get himself a frame on the board without doing a CJRW and losing, what was it in the end? You know, 9 frames out of 10 that he's played. He's lost 5, which is not too bad in relation to having a 3 frame of a deficit beforehand, but now winning 1 more frame, and now it will put him right back in the mix there, 23 frames in, and the scoreline is going to be 12 frames for Sean Murphy, 11 for Yize. And you can see that red could have easily been Murphy to try and take this chance away, had he made that red into the left corner. Of course, that was very much down to Yize getting away with the previous miss that he had on the red, trying to get cover on the blue. Whether that was intentional or not, probably not, because I feel like that was down to just playing for the colour rather than trying to get cover on the, the red that he would have been missing into the corner. Still looking to try and make it down to ready to be taken here. Into the right corner, play the shot with plenty of power. Get that cue ball to be bouncing away from the right side cushion. And then you will be down to a shot on the pink to be taken. Into the left corner as well. So try and make the pink to be heading into the left corner. Play that shot off the left side cushion. And then you'll be very much down to, still a chance to not quite make a century break, but still make it down to a break of 90-something points here. Only the third break of, 90 points specifically in the third frame, or in the 3 sessions that we've seen, I should say. So, trying to take that blue away into the green pocket, try and keep that break going for him. It's going to be difficult, but once again, those are the type of shots that we need to see Yize making out there, especially when he's going to be down to exhibitions out there. But in the end, he will be down to the blue to be missed, but still, Yize finds himself to be winning a very important frame and looking to try and come back ever stronger in the remaining 2 frames of this session number 3. He still finds himself in a position where he's going to be behind, which is never nice, especially after having a 10-7 of a lead, but at least it's not 13-10 that he needs to try and battle his way out of. He still finds himself to be right back in there in the mix, and still 2 more frames to be played on our way to be finishing the session number 3. After 2.5 hours of playing time, it'll be very much down to a good chance here for Murphy to try and establish himself as the leading man if he's able to win any one of those 2 frames, which probably still would be an exactly reverse thing of what we've seen in the first session there, because Yize sort of won the first 3 frames, and then Shaun Murphy managed to win 4 frames on a bounce. It sort of was exactly the reverse of that, because Murphy started with winning 5 frames, and then we could still see potentially, as I say, it's never going to happen, but we could still see potentially Yize to be winning 3 frames on a bounce here, and still be very much the leading man after the opening 25 frames to be played. So still, now he's going to go for the bathroom break there, Yize, and Rob Spencer is going to try and set the Reds up to be re-racked for the penultimate time here. If anyone knows, by the way, if we had any interruptions with the phone, it doesn't seem like you had to mention that to the audience any more times as well. And, they're basically implementing a new rule where if you get caught with your phone to be ringing, then you're going to be out with no chance to get back. And at the same time, it's still looking very, very nicely to try and make this one to be heading into the, exactly where it should be, to be fair. Because right now, after the second session and after the end of the first session as well, you probably have to say you'll be very surprising that we're not seeing the most out of Yize, especially from his point of view of trying to make it down to him to be the leading man and try and take some sort of a lead, whether it's going to be just down to a 1 frame, which is the best possible case scenario for him now, after having a 12-10 of a gap to try and overcome. Now, looking to try and make it back towards the table here. And still very much be the person looking to try and make it down to 12 frames each ahead of that 25th frame of a showdown. Come on, young Wolf, win the next 2. Yeah, this is probably the ultimate task for him now, because if he's able to do that, he can forget about everything that happened, because 5-3 of a scoreline is not too bad at all. But of course, doing that after you've been 5-0 down is going to be brilliant. So, now he comes back towards the arena, comes back towards the table. Needs to have a really nice break to try and finish it off as well. But for now, it'll be very much down to Shaun Murphy 12, Yize 11. And that's, very much a strange break-off shot there. Special addition by Shaun Murphy is about to be introduced to the public again. Now going for the 3rd red away onto the right corner. Let's see if he's playing this one with far enough rail on the cue ball. Well, this will tell us the picture on how well or how badly Yize is going to be feeling about this one, because usually he does go for this red into the corner, and it seemed like he's going to be very much all over that one again. So then can he make this one into the left corner and get himself to be the man, trying to charge up to the field and make it back to 12 frames each? He can't for now, but he's played it really nicely onto the cue ball. And you could say, if you haven't seen the shot there, you could feel like that was a safety that he's played really, really well, because the rate that he's played has finished to be on the right side cushion with no chance for Murphy to be taking that one on, unless he's going to feel like there's going to be, plenty of room to try and play for the blue. But I feel like unless he plays the shot with backspin, which makes it a lot more difficult, we've got really tough chance of trying to play for it. But, it seemed like he's going for it. But just how interesting it's going to be And Murphy's missed it. Now let's see with his red he's going to finish. He's going to finish nearly with a fluke there. We haven't seen too many of those to be heading in the final, but at the end stage, both of the players trying to take a risky long red away, and both of them to have got away with it at the beginning stage. Yeah, Murphy, as I say, nearly fluked that one into the yellow pocket, but at the same time, he's going to round the bulk cushion. And now will be very much down to a shot to just play that straight in the face, and Yize is going to be, nearly potted that one into the left middle, catching the front jaw at the end, and still putting that red to be quite a dangerous asset there, because the yellow, of course, is going to be very much covering Sean Murphy from seeing that red, but he's going to have to make sure whether he's going to be down to yellow, pink, black, blue, green, or brown, or any other color that you can think about, purple or stuff. He needs to try and get that red to be covered away, because to be fair, it depends on what sort of angle he leaves in that raid, because once again, with the black to be out of position, which it seemed like is going to be very much every single time there, the break-off from Murphy is going to come into the chat if you want. And the pink is still covered up. The blue is available. The brown is going to be covering the green pocket from the green itself. So you feel like the realistic chance for you to try and go for those type of shots is going to be down to either black, which if you're going to be taking it very much down to the risky zone, or it could be very much down to a shot on the blue or the yellow to be played as well. So they're trying to get the cue ball to be placed in behind the green here. Well, does he have what it takes here again, as I say? Because it won't be an easy shot for you to try and execute on this stage. Especially if you're going to try and take it from the left-hand side here. The cue ball seems to have gone past the blue. Is he going to get past the green as well? He won't. But what kind of angle has he left him on that potential dangerous red to be available? Oh, it's a bit of a bad camera angle to be watching this one from, but I feel like he's just about able to get through to this red, but what's the value in taking this one away? He will be down to a chance on taking the red away into the left corner. At the same time, be very much down to, he can't play this shot with backspin, so it's going to be down to topspin or nothing here, because he can't just drop the cue ball to be naturally in black there. He's going to be way too far from it, so probably going to have to try and take this one away to the blue. He's trying to dig really deep onto the cue ball. Wow, backspin. He's going to be perfect, and he's trying to play this shot with backspin now. Is he close enough to the blue? He's not quite. Can he get through to the brown here then? Well, this shot is going to be such a mighty cut on the blue to be taken into the right middle. For now, it's a brilliant red that he's taken away into the left corner. And, well, could he have done anything different than this one? The answer probably has to be no. No, can he get through to the brown? It's still a massive shot there for him to be taking on. He's taking that brown away. Now, what sort of position does he have on the red? It's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one, So even though he's managed to sort out the issue with the brown here, so he's going to have 4 colours to try and work his way through, the black is still very much out of availability and out of reach there, if you like. But if he gets himself a couple of points on the board, well, he can try and really get some points going there for him. Because the previous frame, even though he wasn't able to do it from the first time, he certainly needed a second invitation out there. But at least he left Murphy to be scoring very few points, if any, at the end of it. Because I'm pretty sure Murphy ended up that frame with no points that he scored. And it was down to Yize to score something like 93 at the end. Still very much in the blue to be taking it down to those reds. But right now he probably wants to try and get on as low of them as he can. The lowest selection of those reds. Because, of course, inevitably, if you get too low, you always get a chance to try and play for the blue. And if you get too high, you feel like your only chance is going to be playing for the black. And, well, it's kind of what he's done here. He's not sort of too straight, so he's going to have to try and play for the black. Has he played the shot well enough? Well, I'll tell you what, if he's on the black, he's looking to the skies a little bit. Well, he's only going to have himself to blame. As I said, that was why I thought he was going to have to try and take it a little bit lower than what he has done. But at the same time, the red that he cannoned away towards the black, he's going to be the one that prevents the cue ball from seeing the most expensive of those colours. And ultimately, it's just 12 points that you score on the break. And you'll be very much back down to your opponents to come back to the table here again. So at that stage, of course, that one was very much working out nicely for Murphy. Because, as I say, it's such a fine margin of a shot for you to play. But if you get the black to be in the pocket, brilliant. You're in amongst the reds. You've got plenty of loose ones as well. You get the blue, you get the black. You can always try and play it into the big pack of reds as well. But if you're not on the black and you're not able to play for it, you're going to have a very difficult life ahead of yourself to try and get that frame to be started with some good points to score. But for now, of course, as I say, still looking to try and use that extra safety shot that he had after missing out the position on the black there. So Murphy didn't play this one too well, but inevitably, because he caught the brown very much full in the face from a minimal angle, I mean from deep below the table, and very much coming across the brown from as if it was coming from the spine there of the blue and the pink, he's going to have to try and bridge over this brown there, unless he's able to put his hand just about past the brown here. But it's a risky shot to be taking on. And once again, you're never quite sure where the cue ball's going to finish. But look at that. Brilliant red. Nicely taken. And what is that going to be for the colour? Well, he's not going to be on the blue. Well, he may have to play for the blue no matter what. Because look at that. For a red to be taken into the left corner. Brilliant long range shot there from Yize. Now just looking to go for the blue to be taken. And needs to try and make sure it's going to be played with as little pace as possible. Now if he's played that one here, well, as I say, as little pace as possible. That wasn't really the story of the shot that he just played. So, he's got the angle to come back for the blue, but I thought he was going to try and drop this one in behind the black. That's not going to happen now. Oh, it's such a nasty red to be played. Well, I was just about to say he's got no chance to be potting that one, which is probably why he's tried to take it so far up the table. And unless he's going to be on the brown, which he may actually be, you know, he's playing it so far up the table that despite the green and the brown to be covering up each other, he might have actually left this one to be available to himself, which is a brilliant shot there. I mean, taking that red, by the way, off the side cushion with how tight the angle was incredible. But the fact that he's still going to be on the brown leaves it even better there for Yize. Now looking to try and make it on the brown here towards the yellow pocket. He's got a very distinct red that he's going to be playing for. And the brown is going to be taken nicely. Just needs to make sure he's not going to be in behind of the red. The cue ball is going to slow down. He needs it to bounce away. And has he bounced away far enough? He's having a look at it. The camera switched onto the cue ball. Has he looked to the sky again? Well, it seems like he is going to be very skeptical. Well, a little bit too much power would have been nicer for him here, because he would have liked to be top side of that red anyway to try and drop it for the black. But now, just scoring those points very much slowly and steadily. Once again, just 23 points in total, despite having 40 points to be eliminated here. But 107 still very much available here for Sean Murphy. So now back down to a chance to be taking those reds away there from Sean, because you can see that once again looking to the top of the arena is always going to be a sign there that Yize is not going to be happy with what he sees, and that's usually going to be down to him not playing good enough of a positional shot beforehand. So still looking to try and make it towards the middle part of those reds with Sean Murphy's point of view, as he's still trying to see the perfect position there for that cue ball to be taken in relation to the yellow pocket, which probably is going to be available to him now, but at the same time it'll probably be very much down to a risky shot to be taken on. For now, it does seem like it'll be 4 points to be given away, and you'll be back down to Yize to try and make a decision here, because that's 4 points at this stage. It's not going to be too bad, because that's going to be equivalent to 20% of all the points that he's managed to score, despite eliminating, you know, pretty much a third of the points that he's going to be available now towards Sean Murphy. So then, he's going to have a red available, so he needs to make sure he doesn't miss it the second time. Otherwise, he'll be warned there that he's going to have a risk of missing out on conceding the frame of his opponent. So Murphy there just saying he's happy with it, but he just wants a little bit of a fraction there. So yeah, Rob Spencer is going to be happy there. Just make sure, you know, Sean Murphy is going to acknowledge that the line is going to be the one that he's going to be looking for. And he's played this one a lot better than the previous one, because he's actually managed to hit a red. And this time around, he will be back down to Yize to try and come away with this one without any more problems there for him to try and experience. Probably playing off the reds closest to the left side cushion. It's not going to be too much of a gamble here in relation to, you can always try and take that cue ball towards the left side cushion, and by playing a shot like that, you basically eliminate, as long as you play this one, you don't play this one too thick, basically. And when I say too thick, I mean really, really thick. You're always going to have a shot like the one that he just played. Perfectly played. Yes, he caught the brown full ball, but he still managed to get cover on 80% of those reds. And very much the right-hand side here to be the only part of the table available for Sean Murphy. He's pushed one of those reds to be heading towards the left corner. He needs it to make sure it's not going to be too close towards the corner. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's interesting to see if Yize is going to try and consider this red to be going for. I mean, he's going to check the line. He's certainly going to check the line for this one because you feel like the angle opened up a little bit more towards the green pocket. Absolutely taking this one on, whether he'll make it or not, another question. But this, felt like this is tight. This is going to be really tight so far. He's been really good with those chances in this frame. Let's see. Oh, he's taken this one a little bit too thin. And at the end stage, it's now too thick, I should say. And the same red is now going to be available to him as well. 12-12, one again. Once, well, for now, it doesn't seem like it's possible at the next couple of minutes there because Yize just tried to cut this red but caught way too much of the front jaw. And now it'll be for Sean Murphy to have the red over the pocket. So the colour situation is still very much miserable there for Sean. And he's still in the situation where he doesn't care about taking those reds without colours, but he still wants to be very much in there with a chance of trying to establish this break as himself to be the player going for it. So he's not badly lined up for the blue. There's an awful lot of distance in between the cube and the blue, but he's got a line which will get him lined up for the red, but he needs to be careful with it. And it doesn't seem like he's going to be very much fancying this blue to be taken. As I say, he's still very much entitled to be doing that. You know, he's got plenty of reds to try and do it later in the break. And if he feels like he's going to be able to get very much in behind the green or brown, then he's going to be very much the shot for him to play. In the end, taking the brown away and trying to get in behind the green. Didn't really play that shot too well because it seemed like an ordinary safety there, apart from maybe Yize just having to be careful that he doesn't push one of those two reds that he's going to play into over the left corner. So played well, a little bit too thick that he caught that one. The cube is not going to have the pace therefore, and it's a chance for Murphy that he would have been really looking forward to, but having not played that previous shot so well, felt like that probably is going to have to be waiting for a couple of more shots there or so. In the meantime, we'll be coming down to a red to be taken now into the right corner. Plenty of topspin. Make sure you get that cue to be bouncing off the black wall and the left side cushion. What has he done here? I mean, he's gone for a safety and he hasn't played it well. Has he played it safe? Has he got cover on the green? It seemed like with the final movement of the cue ball, he may have actually managed to be in behind the green here. So, Yize is now very much going to be back to, what can he do here? I mean, because it's such a fine margin of a shot there, a centimetre to the left, he can go for this red and try and take that one into the right corner. But right now, he's got another red that he can try and play into the right corner, but there's not going to be a sign of a safety there for him to play. So very much back down to a red to be taken into the corner. Murphy needs to change that break-off shot. Well, yeah, but once again, I wouldn't really say it's the only thing that he's going to be very much the problem for him, and probably not the most important thing anyway. Now just having a look at that red that he can try and cut into the right corner, but such a difficult shot for you to make sure you're going to be able to get that cue ball away from touching those two reds. And, well, can he just try and drop that cue ball to be on the right-hand side of that red? He can't really do that either because that will very much leave it as a tempter for Murphy to be taking that red away into the right corner, which he just about managed to get the cover for. So once again, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to try and roll up to the red from the left-hand side of the table there, because genuinely that short selection to me probably be the most reasonable thing that he can do. For now, he seems to go for the long red, and he's taken that one well. Is he going to be on the collar? That is a brilliant weapon for Yize to try and unleash, and that was played about as well as it was available for him. Look at that red. Look at how far away it was for him, and still manages to take that one away and still be lined up for the green to be taken into the yellow pocket. Well, we can try and take the brown or green, doesn't really matter. Either one of them will give him the angle that he was looking for. And of course, the situation with those reds is going to be absolutely paradise there for him, because look at the way that he's got himself the player to have got a bit of the advantage here in relation to those points. But I mean, I'll be a little bit surprised if he goes for the red now into the corner with not having a colour to play in the pink into the left middle. He's probably going to have to try and play this one into the... he needs to miss the reds. It's just about lucky enough there to get a right cannon of the red, so he's still going to be on the blue to be taken into the green pocket, which how close it's going to be to the cue ball. It's probably a lot more difficult for you to miss than to make that shot into the corner pocket, but at the same time, still needs to be careful to try and get the position on the red to be taken into the left corner now. Now he's going to be on 11 points on the current break, but ultimately the points that he's going to be looking at is the value of a difference in between himself and Shaun Murphy. So still looking to try and go for that red away into the left corner, play that shot with plenty of backspin on the cue ball, and look himself, well, be looking to be playing the shot on the blue to be taken into the right middle. Can he try and get himself through a lineup here to be taken over a couple of reds into the left or right corner? Well, you probably feel like he can be doing that, but at the same time, what is he going to come down to with the blue? To be passing into the right middle and still trying to give it a huge bounce, but it doesn't really need a huge bounce. He just needs to make sure he plays this one very much into the left side of the table. 2 cushions, nicely played, brilliantly charged in terms of the power that he's had, and still looking to be lined up for the red to be taken into the right corner, extending that lead to be even further away from Shaun Murphy. Murphy defeated 3 Chinese players, Fang Jingyi, Xiao Gudong, and Jiao Xington, who is 4th. Well, it is, but maybe he's going to be one too many there. Because if he tries to make himself to be very much 12 frames each, I tell you what, 12-10, especially struggling in that frame number 23, felt like that was going to be a real problem for him to try and make a competitive match out of this one. But now, I feel like we're about to be witnessing at least the same scoreline of what we've seen against Mark Williams and Jiao Xington. And, well, it's not going to be too far from making it down to 18 frames to 14, which of course would have been the scoreline of Karen Wilson against Jack Jones in 24. And then, as I said, you'll be down to Brissell against Selby, Selby against Murphy, all same scorelines with 33 frames to be played. For now, just looking to try and get this 24 number on the board and make it 12 frames each. So he needs to take this red away as a frame wall. Then you'll have 51 points ahead of himself whilst having 58 points of a lead. And that will be certainly setting us up with a brilliant 25th frame to be played. And now 12 frames each. Well, how many times have we seen that with John Higgins and Shaun Murphy, where it was the exact scoreline of 12 frames each? We've nearly seen that as well with Yize against Mark Allen. I can't really remember if that was the case. For whatever reason, I feel like Allen had a bit of a lead at that stage. But look at this shot. It felt like Murphy could have done a little bit better here. But ultimately, the previous shot where he run himself out of position on the blue probably was the point where he has gone wrong for him, and now a break of 39 points and counting is still going to be a very important break there for Yize as he tries to take the black away into the right corner, make sure he's still going to be lined up for the red to be taken into the left part of the table. And now we'll be very much back down to Shaun Murphy to try and make it right for himself there, because he doesn't want to be losing the remaining 3 frames of the session. The red is going to stay away there from the corner pocket, but at the end stage, he'll be down to Yize to try and take this one away with a really good break of 46 points. He now makes it back down to 12 frames each. And now Shaun Murphy and Yize are going to have a brilliant summary to what has been a great session of snooker, started by 5 frames of the bounce to have been winning by Shaun Murphy, and then finished off by 2 frames here, potentially 3, to be very much the cliffhanger there for Yize, which will still leave him to be very much the leading man at the remainder of that 25th frame. For now, he's going to be looking at the score sheet and saying, how did he go from 10-7 to 12 frames each? But at the same time, you can look at it from a different perspective and say, how's he gone from 12-10 in Murphy's point of view, playing really well, and then Yize was able to take 2 frames away from him. But once again, I feel like it's a really strange session for Murphy, because he'll be a brilliant result if he manages to win this one 6 frames to 2. It'll be a really good result for him in terms of the scoreline. But in terms of the performance, I feel like it's really difficult to separate them away from each other, because he just hasn't been good enough from either one of the parties there. Murphy had to go for the kill, and the fact that he's still looking at a potential chance of this to be 5-3 is laughable and is, a little bit of a baffling as well thing to be watching. But at the same time, the way that Yize managed to come back from losing 5 frames straight next to each other and still put himself to be in a position of trying to come out on top is brilliant for him as well, because you feel like at that stage, we feel like if Shaun Murphy is able to win 2 more frames away, and I did say that with 3 more frames for for the session to be left. I said Yize needs to win 2 frames in a row, but I feel like he's not going to be able to do that anywhere near it to win 2 out of the remaining 3. Now he's managed to do that already. Can he try and take it one step further and make sure he's still going to be very much the man to try and take it away from Shaun Murphy and get himself only 5 frames away from glory? I mean, it's now going to be very much back down to a race of 6 frames, best of 11, about to have 1 more frame to be played, and then the final session will pretty much separate, as I say, the men from the boys, but so far is the 2 men that have to be separated away from each other. Some great battles showed in very important moments for both of them, and now it'll be very much down to the final frame of the session, and it will be very much back down to Shaun Murphy to try and take this one away from Yize. But from Yize's point of view, can he try and get himself with an A star of a performance of the second session? Of course, you know, a D- in relation to what he's had in the first 5 frames to be shown. Still looking to try and make his way back towards the arena and waiting for Shaun to try and return back to it as well. And then you'll be back down to the 25th frame of a shootout here to see on who's going to be stronger, on who's going to be better, and who's going to be able to score more points here in this frame number 25 to try and see on who's going to have the mental edge there in relation to the final session to take the lead to. For now, it's a break-off shot with Murphy, which Yize, I should say, which probably should be great news for the black and great news for the black ball cushion, because finally those 2 are going to be separated away from each other, although, you know, never quite know with how long for. And joking aside though, I'm not sure he's played this shot well enough in relation to, does that red go past, you know, the line of the blue and the green? Because if it does, it's going to be a really good chance for the cue ball to be taking it into the red and still try and make it down to, you know, trying to just hug it around the black there. He's gone for it. He's made it really well. Now, what color is he going to be on there? He got a little bit of a brush of the blue that it seemed like at the start, but he needed that brush to be a lot more bigger at the ends because that red was taken really nicely there from Shaun Murphy. And now he'll be down to a shot on the yellow to play. Of course, he looked at the red to be possible into the right corner beforehand. Not sure what he's going to have available at the right part of the table, and to me, it's just trying to make this one safe. So, yeah, just roll that cue ball to be heading away from the ball colours on towards the ball cushion. So, the first real good shot there from Shaun Murphy in the deciding frame of the session. Doesn't seem like he's going to buy him anything here. And he's still looking to try and make it back down to a shot to be taken from the left side, from Yize's point of view. And just try and make sure he's not going to be leaving any more unnecessary foul points away, but he will be doing that with at least one of those occasions. You know, judge the pace well, but not quite well enough. You know, it's going to be 4 points for underrunning for those reds. And now 5 points is the lead for Shaun Murphy to be taken. And you can see there was very little distance between those reds and the cue ball, but in the end, there was no contact whatsoever. So now he's going to be happy with it here. As the referee is tries to replicate the position of the cue ball from what it was at the previous occasion. So then plenty of power behind it this time around. And a really good shot there at the end. As long as it's not going to be a touch and ball, then it's going to be even better for him. But now referee's going to have a very close look at it. The end still doesn't seem like it's going to be a touch and ball. So still looking. And it will be a touch and ball after all that. So very important that for Murphy, because of course it does give him the ability to just play the way. Well, I mean, it's difficult to say that, to be fair, because you have got, you know, the other end to be sort of, you know, blocking the path of the green cloth there to be seen. But at the end, the referee probably, to me, makes the right decision, because I do feel like there was a little bit of touching there in between the cue ball and the red at the same time. So then back down to Yize. He didn't try and play it into, you know, the bulk colours there to try and get in between the reds and the cue ball. So just carefully to be sending the cue ball in towards the yellow pocket, and now to try and make sure he's going to have a red to be taken into the right corner. Playing this one with plenty of topspin, and he's going to have a great chance of trying to make those reds away from each other. Now, has he played this shot well enough? Well, seemed like he's got a decent purchase on the cue ball, but you know, the fact that he has left one of those reds to be potentially available into the left corner, I mean, Murphy's certainly going to have a look in relation to where the cue ball is going to be heading as he comes back down the table and jumps back up there as well. So, very much looking forward to seeing that shot there from Sean Murphy. Or is he going to catch the yellow here? He doesn't want to be doing that for himself. He's going to catch the brown at the end, but it's going to be binding himself a couple of inches there, but still, he's going to have a red very much available here for Yize, and he never refuses those type of shots there, whether he pots them or not. Well, I'm going to tell you after what I was going to predict for it, but I do have a very clear answer in mind. Well, since he's gone a little bit more time, I do expect him to go for it, and actually do expect him to pot it as well. Now, he's just having a look to see if he's going to have a red available to the left middle. He's been taking those really, really well, but the minor thing about this one is that you have to cue this one perfectly straight, which is not always easy for you to try and do. Now then, can he try and hit this one well? So he's going to be on the pink, and well, he's hit that one really, really well. And look at the side spin that he's managed to put in getting that cue ball towards the pink. Really nice shot there from Yize, and managing to be exactly where he was before this frame, trying to get himself very much in the zone here of trying to score some really good points as well. Now then, looking at the pink to be taken into the left middle, he's got a chance of trying to make it back down for those reds to be taken into the left corner. By the way, I've just realised Peter has gone on 12-10, very much saying that he's got no chance that Yize to try and come back from this one. Well, if you're going to be watching this one, Peter, it's like the meme from Top Gear. So if you're watching this in Saudi Arabia, I'm not going to replicate the remainder of it as well. Now then, just trying to go for the pink into the left middle. Of course, the previous way that he's played that shot with, now he's going to leave himself with a chance of taking this red away into the corner. But, well, he wanted to be a little bit straighter on this one. The pink is going to go onto the black spot, but does that really give any more advantage for Yize? Because he still needs to try and drop himself to be on the pink. The advantage is going to be if the pink goes into the right corner, which is going to be a great addition to this type of a shot to be played. You know, he's going to try and pot that cue ball to be very much on the left side of the pink. And yeah, he's played that one well. He's played that one really well. Yes, he's going to be slightly lower than the pink itself, but still leaves himself to... I say leaves himself. What can he actually do here? The top red probably wouldn't go into the right corner. So what can he do here in relation to the pink? Does he have to just try and hold it for one of those plants to be available? Oh, he's got plenty of angle here. Is he going to try and send that cue ball into those reds? Well, he's trying to get around them. Now, can he try and make it down the table here without any issues? He seems to have played a mighty shot here of an attempt. And he's going to be on the reds. Now, is there going to be an angle for him to try and drop the cue ball back towards the pink again? Because it's very awkward with how many spikes there are of those reds to be at the black ball cushion. And yeah, he's going to have a nice angle to try and drop the cue ball just past that red and on the pink nicely. So, he can try and remove one of those spikes to be taken if it goes past the other red, which doesn't seem like that will be the case here. But inevitably, he can just try and work his way through those reds one by one. You know, one into the left corner that he can try and take here. It's certainly going to be a great threat of a shot there for him to be taken. But at the same time, I still feel like, you know, he needs to be very, very clinical with those type of shots that he takes. But for whatever reason, I still have a very strong feeling that he'll try and play this one on for that red next to the black there. Try and get it into the left corner. And eventually get himself one less red to worry about. But of course, I mean, he doesn't have to be doing that now. Rooting for Wu. I mean, it doesn't have to be doing that here because if he's got more loose reds, I mean, that does seem to be very tight. Nah, I'd probably say that's not worth it. I mean, it does seem like you have to play that shot absolutely perfectly on. And it's not even the only red that is available to him. Always going to try and take one of those reds away. I mean, it's a smart shot that he's played. It's a really smart shot out there because now he allows him to be on the reds to be taken into the left corner and still play naturally for either blue or pink here. I mean, probably difficult to try and hold it for the pink with the angle from a different camera here that you can see. And yeah, just needs to be top side of a blue, just about. Is he going to be top side of a blue? Well, he is going to be, but once again, as I say, just about top side of it. So probably going to have to try and take this one off two cushions, but ideally wants to try and do it off one. And he is going to have to try and do it off one. How close is he going to be to the red? Plenty of side spin. And in the end, not a bad effort at all. Still on the red into the corner. Looking to try and take that one past the pink and get himself through to a chance of getting that pink to be taken into the left corner here. So a little bit of backspin. Make sure you're going to have a chance to try and hold that cue ball for the pink. And then he's going to have a red right next to the pink to be taken into the left corner as well. Magnifique China. Well, come on, kid. He's going to have a look at this one. For now, it'll be very much interesting to be seen there in relation to the pink to be taken into the left corner. Want him to win then? Well, we'll have to wait and see here, but he's now got 23 points of a lead. If he takes the pink away, that'll be something like 29. One more red that he has. One more red that he probably has got at the top side of a pack. One more at the lower side of it. So it'll be very interesting to see how many points can he actually score out this break. But he feels like you're going to have to try and play this one through the left side cushion and onto the red. He needs to be very straight on this one. Otherwise, the pink will be getting in the way. But he seems to have played it well. So then still trying to go for the red to be taken into the left part of the table. Plenty of backspin here needed to try and set himself up for a shot on the pink. And does he try and go into those reds now? Or does he try and play for a couple more loose reds as he has available? He seems to have made his mind here on trying to go for the lowest one of the pack to be taken into the right corner. And, well, still basically leave himself with those reds to try and be separated from yourself. Showing he's better today. I hope he keep it like that. Well, for now, he just has a bit of a bad spell of the 2.5 frames. So then taking the pink away into the left corner, can he try and hold that cue ball for the red really well? He managed to make the distance to be miserable out there, which is good because it allows him to have a really firm contact on the cue ball. But at the same time, he's not going to have so much of trouble with those reds to try and get through. Now then, well, he's taking this shot with topspin, so he's playing for the pink. How much of the angle has he left himself with? It's all right. And just looking at if he's actually managed to make a couple of reds there available to himself. Well, maybe trying to get on the right side of the red here, but it's going to be difficult, you know, because he doesn't have the monumental angle, and ultimately trying to drop that cue ball on the left-hand side of those reds is not going to be an easy thing to do. But at the same time, it's going to be down to the pink to be taken here into the left corner. Played that shot well, but he's clearly played that shot with an intention to try and pot the reds into the right corner well. Rob Spencer is now going to have a look if the pink is going to go back onto its own spot, which Yize doesn't really want to be seeing any of right now. He just needs to try and keep that pink to be on the black spot for a while until he's taken those 3 reds that he's got ahead of himself, 4 reds I should say. And then it'll be very much down to Shaun Murphy to find himself in a position of, I mean, that was a little bit tight there. And he's also not going to be perfectly lined up for the pink. So then a break of 49 points, just having to make sure he gets these reds in. But of course, for you to get on the red, you need to put a collar now. Having to bridge a little bit awkwardly over the red. Making sure he's taking that pace beautifully away from pink. Just rolls that one with no pace at all. And now, let's see where the pink is going to be respotted here. And he should go back into its own spot now. So still very much looking at the red to be taken into the right corner. And then play for the blue. Leave himself to be the top side of it. You'll give it a natural angle to try and play for the red next to the pink. To be taken into the left corner as well. And that, no for him now. That was a mistake from Yize. And let's see if he's going to be able to recover with this one. Because 51 points of a lead is not quite over and done with. Well, what's he going to try and do here? Just play this one with a minor effect on the cue ball. And leave himself to be the top side of it. No, that's not his way. But at the same time, I feel like that probably should have been his way. That's a disappointing shot that he's played. And it's not going to get him anywhere. Apart from into a safety shot here to be played. And at the end stage, he'll be 56 points of a lead. 60. Well, I mean, how did he mess up the previous shot there? I mean, it was so easy. If you're going to be on the top side of a blue, then surely it would have been down to a red to be taken as a frame ball. But now, it's a different story here because 67 points available. It's not even 59, with 56 being the gap there. He's trying to take the pink away into the left side cushion. And if he misses the green, he's got a great chance of making it a difficult safety for Shaun Murphy to be taken. And I tell you what, it's still a really good break there from Yize. And now he'll be back down to 56 points of a lead here for him. And it's still looking at a potential red here, which Murphy can go for into the left corner. I feel like probably one of the 2 that he can try and play a shot off. But at the same time, feels like he needs to get this one in. Remember, the black is out of position. So it'll be very much down to a long shot anyway. Oh, that's an unlucky double kiss. But where's the red going to finish? That's going to be probably over the pocket there. And that will be the case. So that should be very much down to Yize to try and take this one away. No chance given. He was a little bit fortunate with that double kiss. But at the end, it was always going to be down to his frame for the taking. And that's exactly what he's done. Not perfectly lined up on the green or brown though. So the frame is not over technically just yet. And of course, if he takes the green away, he'll be back down to 60 points as the lead, 15 on the table, and no chance for Murphy to have snookers to be found to try and find under such horrific circumstances for him. But in the end, such a good shot on the green, and now it will be a really good comeback from Yize. At 12-10, it looks like he was going to be out of this match before the fourth session. The 15-10 of a gap was very much in the open. Now he'll be 13-12, that he has managed to turn this session around and do the exact opposite of what Sean Murphy's done to him in the first session as well. Very important frame wins and very important frame number 25 with some really good shots to be played in the meantime as well. Now it'll be very much back down to Yize to have the initiative in the remaining 10 frames if the match is to go the distance. For now, still very much going to be looking at Sean Murphy potentially to try and produce a comeback again, but you feel like surely at some stage he's going to be running out of mana for those. For now, looking at the plans for Yize to try and take, carefully rolls that one in, still going to be on the black to be taken into the left corner, and manages to be here on the black to be taking it carefully along the cushion. Making total clearance will be a very fitting end to this session for him, and he's taken that one really, really well. The black wasn't easy, and especially having to bridge over the red didn't make that easy on him as well. But, now he's only going to be 100 points down on Sean Murphy, despite being as low as 340 points down on him when Murphy managed to level it back to 10 frames each and get himself through a hit of 12-10 as well. Now he'll be back down to Yize to have the opportunity to try and close it out with a break of 60 points at the end of it, and 27 points here as well. Who makes me watch snooker again. Yeah, he does seem to play the snooker the way it should be played. Very aggressive, very attacking, but also makes it look very easy indeed. Now then, trying to get in behind the green to be taken into the left corner, and still trying to put it through the brown. Played that shot really, really well, and still going to be entertaining the crowd to the bits out there. Can't make a century break, and probably the only thing that has been missing from the session. So plenty of drama, plenty of comebacks, plenty of steals as well, but also plenty of some great snooker that we have seen from Yize. But ultimately, you mustn't forget that the starting point of the session was very much back down to Sean Murphy, and Murphy's still going to be happy with this one, because even though he's lost 3 frames at the bounce, he manages to take the session away by 5 frames to 3, and same has to be down to Yize. He can't be fully happy with it because, of course, he leaves himself to be positioned to be losing this session away, but at the same time, he'll still find himself to be very much in a position to try and take it away from Sean Murphy. It will be a handshake to be done in between the players for the penultimate time. The next thing, the frame is going to be over and the handshake is going to be, it's either a decider or it'll be one of the players to be winning this match away and taking the title away from the opposition. For now, it will be 25 frames in, and still, after such a good comeback at the opening stage of the session, it was very much Sean Murphy to try and get himself through to a lead of 12 frames to 10. Despite being 10-7 down, Yize managed to come back and win 3 frames of his own. Now we'll be back down to him to be the leading man at the end of the session number 3. Thank you everyone, by the way, that has tuned into the chat. Feel free to be liking the stream on the way out. Subscribe to the channel as well. We're on our way to the 10k. Let's see if we're going to be able to hit that one at the end of the 4th session. That will be very much a fitting end to the World Championship and the whole season of snooker as well. Thank you for everyone to one of you. And very quickly, by the way, on this performance, you have to point out 2 things out there from Yize and Sean Murphy as well. The fact that first frame was taken so much away from both of them, you probably put it down to a really good opportunity from Yize to try and take it away from Murphy at the starting point. He was unable to go beyond that 37 points that he achieved, and that probably was the thing that cost him quite dearly. Now, he'll be back down to, a lot of opportunities that we've seen from Murphy. A couple of bizarre frames from Yize where he wasn't playing well. He was going for all those long raids, but once again, the previous frame that he's taken, that frame number 23, he's had the chance in 22 as well. When he was trying to go for that black into the corner, he missed it off the spot. It looks like that was going to be the point that broke him. But I did say, sometimes when you're not playing well, you do need a little bit of a thing to try and kickstart your campaign and make sure you'll be very much back down to you to be the player to try and come away with a better result at the end. Whether that will be the case, we'll have to find out at the end of this session, but you still feel like he does deserve a lot of recognition, the way that he was able to come away with so many crucial frame wins. Murphy probably has to be given loads of credit for the first 5 frames, but as I say, neither of the players, well, you could probably say Yize was playing well in remaining 2 frames because he was putting some brilliant shots, he was playing some great stuff as well, but at the end stage, he's probably going to be down to Sean Murphy and Yize to have both played some incredible snooker, but at the end stage, you can't say Yize has not managed to have a brilliant ending to the session, and you can't say the same thing that Murphy didn't have a brilliant start to the session as well. In the end, it's only fair. 4-all probably would have been a perfect scoreline for Yize. He left it a little bit too late at the end, but he still leaves himself to be in a position of a little bit of comfort, as it's now going to be a race to 5 for Yize, and Sean Murphy is now going to be sat at 12 frames as he has been. And well, what a showdown for the session number 4 that we have. At least 5 more frames for us to be seen, but if you have seen anything of Sean Murphy this tournament, he will be a lot more than 5 frames, and he could still be very much the decider that we're going through. And if Yize is to win this match, it could still be very much the repeat of Xiaotington against Mark Williams, although it'll be a very different story in relation to how well this match has developed and how well it's going to finish as well. Once again, thank you for everyone that has tuned to the stream. Hit the like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for one more stream of this season. Then it'll be all down to the reviews, all down to the edits, all down to the tributes on who's been the best player of the season. But now we're about to see who's going to be the best player of the season. Is it going to be Yize? Is it going to be Sean Murphy? Let's have to wait and see. Only 2.5 hours to wait. Feel free to tune into that session, and then there's going to be plenty of snooker for us to be seen. Once again, thanks for watching. Stay tuned in. More action yet to come as we're about to crown the new world champion in Yize, or a potential 2-time winner in Sean Murphy. Thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you soon in 2.5 hours time. Stay tuned in.